It's Friday. Welcome to AM News. My name is Denisia Pomaide. We begin from Parliament because it has approved a mini budget for the first quarter of 2025. The funds are to be allocated across various sectors of the economy between January and March. Per the mini budget 2025, the new John Mahama administration plans to spend some 16 billion Ghana cedis on compensation for employees. Expenditure on goods and services is set at 3 billion Ghana cedis, while interest payments will cost the nation some 20 billion Ghana cedis. And away from that, Member of Parliament for Nandom, Ambrose Dery, says he lost his bid for a third consecutive term in Parliament after his reassignment from Interior Minister to the office of the President as Minister of State. Well, he notes that despite assurances from President Akufo-Addo and his retention of cabinet status, the change did not sit well with his home constituency. The former Interior Minister was defeated in the election after 3 terms by the former Director General of the Ghana Prison Service, Richard Kurire. Rafik Salam reports.
The former Interior Minister, Ambrose Dery, for close to 2 decades, has been the face of Upper West Region's parliamentary politics. He lost 2 and won 3, ingraining himself in the hearts and minds of the people. On all 3 occasions that he won, the party's presidential candidates never won. They only experienced an appreciation of their votes. Ambrose Dery has brought sea of unparalleled and unmatched development to the region, particularly Nandom, which has improved the economic well-being of the people. Communities that research has shown during the days of yore will never get the luxury of the national electricity grid unless the intervention of God, because of their scattered settlement, today has the entire municipality connected to the grid. Roads that were deplorable in the municipality have now been given a facelift, majority now having bituminous surfaces. Ambrose Dery therefore went into the 2024 elections in Nandom with lots of hope. It, however, did not pan out to his expectation. He lost the Nandom parliamentary seat to arch-rival Richard Kurire, a man he defeated on 2 previous occasions. The defeat of his party, MPP countrywide, was massive, which he agreed with the national chairman of the party of a need for a review. For him, however, his defeat may have hinged on several issues, but 2 things he could spot on was a reshuffle as Interior Minister to a Minister of State. Though he still held on to cabinet status, but in the eyes of the Nandom people, he was lame duck, demoted, and given a name.
I at my level didn't think it was a big deal because the president has assured me and I continue to be cabinet minister. But when I came back home, they gave me a name, Bang Bar. That means that my power was finished. And their position was that they've known that the president and I have been very close, and the president has shown his confidence in me. So for them, as far as I had been removed as Minister for the Interior, albeit still a member of the executive, it was an issue. And yes, it was an issue for them. And that's where politics makes the difference, because it's their perception. Even if you think that being cabinet minister is, as far as they are concerned, Minister for the Interior and Minister of State were not the same thing.
Next was the massive support the paramount chief of the Nandom traditional area, now Professor Edmond Delechiro VIII, allegedly lent to the NDC flag bearer John Mahama at a political rally the former attended.
The chief was at a campaign rally of the NDC and made quite profound statements that are known to you. I mean, it then became like a jingle that was played all over the place by TV3 and the rest of them about the fact that he thought that John Mahama should be an experienced driver, tested, talking about issues of corruption and the rest of them. That was huge. I cannot consider a chief as an MPP chief, but he's called an MPP chief. But we do know his history, that he's been with the CPP and has been chairman of CPP before. But on this occasion, he openly campaigned at a rally. And I want to emphasize that. It's not that he was in his palace and the chief and the politicians came to visit him. He was at a political rally and did that. And therefore it was clear where his political stance are. I'm not complaining, but it's important to put things in context.
What about dabbling in Islamic religious conflicts in Nandom? Has he fronted for any of the sides?
And my position has been clear that I'm not a Muslim. And in fact, if you want to be brutal, I'm a Kafri. And I cannot determine who is imam of a place. I'm a Catholic. But even in my church, I don't determine the parish priest, and I don't determine the bishop. There are procedures by which these office holders are determined. So yes, people can have their own views and idiosyncrasies about things, but the fact remains that I have not influenced the appointment of any other person apart from the person I met, and is a person that I have left in office.
The former Interior Minister says he has no regret serving the people of Nandom and the region at large despite his defeat.
I have no regrets for it. I'm happy that I did it. I wish that the politicians who have taken over will continue to do same and more. And no regrets at all. No regrets at all. Except being grateful to God for giving me the opportunity to do what I did, and glory is God's.
Reporting for J News, Rafik Salam, Kokolibu.
And let's do some business stories next. Well, the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies says the 200 million cedi debt owed by public sector workers would not affect its ability to lend to the public sector. According to the association, although the debt has the potential to affect its liquidity sustainability, it remains resolute to ensure the debt is paid. Trinebwa Koduabuache is the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Association of Savings and Loans Companies.
For us, when our CEOs met on this issue, we agreed that it is a major concern, but we have resolved to continue to grant additional facilities to those who qualify. So for us, we will continue to grant facilities to those who qualify, but we, at a point in time, you know that you cannot continue at a certain point in time. And we don't expect that we will get to that point. And so this is something that we all need to resolve before it gets to a point where financial institutions decide that they will not. But for us as an industry, we continue to grant facilities to all those who qualify, but we will continue to also be more stringent to making sure that we get value for our depositors and our shareholders.
And President of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Stefan Abbas Miezan, has implored the Ghana Tourism Authority to market the annual Masquerade Festival, popularly known as Tadi Bronya, to harness its economic potential to generate significant revenue for the region. Well, he says this unique cultural event, celebrated from December 25 to January 1, has become a significant attraction during the Christmas season, drawing thousands of revelers and tourists to the city. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Abbas Mirzan appealed to other corporate organizations to come on board and support this rich cultural display.
This is $100 million industry. So, getting to the season, we are calling on businesses, restaurant organizations, hotel operators to be part of it. We are calling on banks, insurance companies, and this is big. Look at number of people. We need insurance people to be here. We need the health industries to also be here because we are looking at injuries, stampede, and all of that. So the insurance industry needs to be part of it and sponsor and take advantage of this industry. It's massive. It's really massive. And this is international. Look, after Brazil, this is next. After Brazil Carnival, this is next. And this is happening right here in the oil city. And that's what we call Made in Takrady.
And to the rest of the news, family gatherings are not a common sight in Kumasi, but the Love FM Family Party in the Park changed the narrative for the new year 2025. The city's largest outdoor event uniquely provided a platform for thousands of families to come together, creating a rare opportunity for communal joy and bonding in Osekum. Clinton Yeboah has more in this report.
The coupled with finely trimmed grasses and trees at the Ratri Park was enough motivation for families to come together to eat, drink and chat heartily. The children were perhaps the most excited as they participated in dancing competitions, face painting, bouncy castles, electric trains, swimming, among other activities. The old folks were attracted to live band performances for their listening pleasure and relation. This is Love FM's way of bringing families together.
Looking at the ending of the year, looking at the election year, like a whole lot of things going up and down, academics, graduating for KNUST. So like it's a good time to bond with the family. Looking at entering the new year, the first day of the new year, it's a good time to bond with the family. So definitely, it's really bonding us together. You see, I just met you here and then now we are having a convo, so you can imagine.
Because if you go to the playground, you have so much that you can do there. You have fancy castle, you have the slide. I've done all them. Like, I'm even tired, but I still want to go home.
I don't think there've been years I've missed this program. I've been here every single day that they do this program, and I really enjoy it.
We are the budget pressure also. It's a school visit and grab it. Mommy yesterday. It's a pressure and never yet.
In an unexpected twist, the Ghana Police Service joined the festivities, adding to the excitement while still in uniform, enhancing the festive atmosphere.
That out, we want the children to be part of policing in Ghana. That is why when you see us here this morning, it was based upon the instruction of the Inspector General of Police that we should also add this side attraction so that the kids who will be here will also see the police as friendly.
The 2025 edition saw overwhelming numbers. Host of Ofie Kwanzo on Nishua FM, Kingsley Odamia Mwako, who hosted the adult corner of the event, says the upward numbers are a confirmation of maximum satisfaction.
And our sponsors no boy. We are sponsors now. We'll be at the product man. And I will say we're joining multimedia, radio guide resource, say Love FM, say Nishua FM, even Ashanti region and beyond there.
Well, I've been engaging families who are dining, who are enjoying themselves, dancing all over, and they tell me how excited they are to be here and how this program has opened up and lightened their new year, and they're hoping for opportunities ahead, which is what I am wishing for you watching us from home. My name is Clinton Yeboah, reporting for Joy News.
And later tonight is the much anticipated Joy FM 90s Jam. Get ready to dance to tunes from Daddy Lumba, Kojo Entry, Obrafo, TikTok, Naughty by Nature from 8 p.m. at the Pleasant Gardens Jolu here in Accra. The likes of DJ Black and Andy Dusty will be behind the turntables. Ahead of the event, some of my colleagues have been sharing their favorite 90s tunes plus fond memories. Oh, and that's it. Oh, please join us. Join us at the Pleasant Gardens at 8 p.m. My favorite song from the 90s is from the Fugees, Ready or Not. I play my enemies like a game of chess where I rest. No stress if you don't smoke cess. Yes. So I'll meet you at 8 p.m. at the Pleasant Gardens at Jolu. My name is Denisia Pomaide. That's it for AM News.
Welcome aboard the news review segment on the AM show. Of course, I'm Sweetie Abochi. And this morning, my guest in studio with me is Maxwell Lukuto, the Member of Parliament-elect for South Tongu. Mr. Lukuto, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
And congratulations.
Thank you so much, my dear.
How does it feel?
Mixed feelings. I've had a go at this for some time, and so it was all in preparedness to annexed the seat and play my role as a member of Parliament. And so, but sometimes when they call you MP, you tend to look around to see there was something, somebody else you're referring to. So I'm not used to the situation of being called an MP yet, but it's a good feeling. Yesterday, I was in the big House of Parliament to go through the registration process. We're taking around to see what we'll be seeing, getting in there.
Overwhelming?
Not really. I've been there on a few occasions, and so it wasn't anything too different, but at least being shown that this is this is that, and so it was okay.
Ah, well.
Yeah. Today would also be going back to the State of the Nation's address to witness it.
In fact, we'll discuss all that in the course of the program. But usually we give our guests a couple of minutes to walk us through their trail of thoughts, especially if there's a topical issue that you want to reflect on. So what will be your 2 minutes take?
It will be the fire that gutted the Kantamanto.
Yesterday.
Yesterday. It's, our heart goes to the victims, and especially at this very terrible time of ours. We just come from the holidays, the celebrations of the Christmas and the New Year, and this has happened. It will be a big blow to people, and especially knowing the economic challenges we have over the past 7-8 years. I believe that it will have a big toll on our people, and so my heart goes out to them. It's just unfortunate that people have started putting pressure on the incoming president to prioritize. The NPP has been in power for all these years. So many things have happened. We've never seen them being proactive for the first 3-6 months, maybe even to a year. You may have to have time to learn the rudiments of Parliament, how things are done, how you have to approach situations and stuff like that. You would have to put your office together. You need a human resource doing all that.
How long do you think all this will take you before you settle in properly?
For now, we've not been given a schedule, a timetable, and so we're just taking through the registration process yesterday. Today, we may appear at the State of the Nation's address to see how things begin. Then, after we are sworn in on Monday, Tuesday, I'm sure the orientation program outline will be given to us. And so, because I'm not too sure how it's going to look like.
Automatically,
definitely. And so, we're fortunate that yesterday the budget for the first 3 months has been laid. And so that will be discussed and we'll go through it. And once those things have taken shape, I'm sure there will be a lot of things to do, especially the president-elect putting his men together, cabinet, ministers, DCs, MCs, and all that will take some time. And after that, I'm sure that depending on the situation from the national, the president-elect would also have to follow suit, and also from our speaker and leadership in Parliament.
But that's for Parliament. I want us to circle back to your constituency. I'm sure you ran for office because you identified some gaps that you think you're equipped to handle, help your people fill. What are let's keep it at three issues, and what your approach is to, solving whatever issues.
Fortunately for me, I have been with my people for some time. This is the 4th time contesting to become a member of Parliament. And so for all this while, there were things we've done together. You know, the Southern constituency, a semi-rural community, we have challenges with roads, we have challenges with potable water, even though we have the Volta River or Lake with us. And so those are the immediate things you need to look at. But for me as a person, my focus and attention is on the youth of the constituency, how to realign their thinking, their thoughts about their future, giving them hope, and then pulling some of them along, getting them to where they need to get to. Sometimes it may not be giving them money, it may be just sitting them down and talking to them, and then realigning their thoughts and their approach to life.
I like that.
So once we do those things, I believe that they will be ready to roll on with me. With our roads, yes, the dry season is here. The drip equipments are available in town. So my thinking is that quickly we need to, together with the district assembly, continue with the reshaping of some of our roads to make them more motorable. Many of our roads are in bad shape, and so we need to immediately zoom into that and then work at it. Fortunately, I am an engineer, I'm a surveyor, I'm a planner. Okay. And so I
understand the demand.
Yeah, I understand the demands of our people.
Right.
The challenges of water, we have that government water treatment plant that will be supplying Togo and other neighboring constituencies. And so we need to quickly rechannel a larger chunk of that to our people so that we are by the river, we should have the potable water to drink. And so for me, challenges of road, challenges of water, and then the youth empowerment are the immediate things that I am thinking about, how to kickstart with these people. And I'm sure once I have the human resource solid behind me, then we are good to go. Yeah, sure.
Well, we'll be looking out for you, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Let's get into the news review proper. And my stories are coming from myjoyonline.com first. Let's start from the SONA, the very last one from President Akufo-Addo. That is set for today. He's supposed to deliver that today. And let me just read a bit of this. He will address the nation from Parliament House on Friday, that is today, ahead of the dissolution of the 8th Parliament. There's a lot happening in Parliament today. And the President is expected to provide an update on the current state of the country, touching on various sectors of the economy before handing over office to the newly elected President, John Dramani Mahama. I want to do two stories here on myjoyonline.com before I come to you. So now the governor of Bank of Ghana, is saying that the debt exchange program has nothing to do with the Bank of Ghana's independence. And I listened to him speak to George Weafe yesterday on PM Express Business Edition. And the story reads, Governor of Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Yedu Addison, has firmly dismissed claims linking the central bank's independence to the government's debt exchange program. And quotes, the debt exchange program has nothing to do with the independence of the central bank, he stated. And he described the program as, quote, a pure crisis issue, stressing its urgency during a time when Ghana was on the brink of economic collapse. How does these two stories, the first one, of course, is just our expectations for what the president will be saying today. And we know that there are some disparities between what they're reporting in terms of economic recovery, what the IMF is cautioning us to do, what Ghanaians are actually feeling in terms of the reality on ground and all that. So first that, and then we can talk about Dr. Ernest Addison's rhetoric.
Yeah, so in your media landscape, you say that these are PR gimmicks that we've had over the past 8 years. The realities we feel, but they tell us something else on paper. And so I believe that there wouldn't be anything different. Nana Addo, the president of Ghana, will continue on his lying spree. He would continue. He would continue to tell us things that are not real.
Why would you say that?
Oh, we've lived with this for the past.
Presidents to be lying all the time. If you say lying spree. I just want, giving the...
No, what we have felt, what we have voted for is what I'm talking about. We have experienced this for the past 8 years, and there's nothing new. We are not expecting to see anything or hear anything new from the President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. It's always been one thing against the other. You just mentioned the difference between what the IMF is telling us, what they tell us, and the reality on the ground. I'm sure the reality is what Ghanaians have voted for, that we have had enough of this ineptitude, inaction, and then the corruption that we have experienced for the past 8 years. And so that is what Ghanaians have overwhelmingly voted for. So there isn't anything new he's going to say. I will be surprised to hear him say the reality on the ground. Because
surprised.
Yeah, I'll be surprised to hear him.
Now whatever he is his reality is just
Maybe his relatives are different from the relatives of Ghanaians.
Yeah, that doesn't make him a liar.
And that is why even at the end of the day, you saw Bawumia saying that he knows he was winning and then he wanted the gap to be big. And we gave him a big gap because that's what he called for. So the point is that their relatives, I believe, is different from the relatives of Ghanaians. So you hear him last week in the New Year message saying something different from what we all know. Of course, the growth rate that he's touting that it was supposed to be 6.8 and now we are getting 7.2 in the last quarter and all that. The reality on the ground is that we have gone through excruciating times and then things have not been too good for us for the past 8 years. And so, but you see some of his surrogates, Napo, comparing him to the Nkrumah of all times. Can you imagine? And so for me, that's why I say that their relatives may be different. And maybe they know the truth, but they tell us something else. They want us to imagine something we are not seeing and feeling. So I believe he will go through his gimmicks, opening his eyes.
No, you just got a mandate to go, to go into office. And at a point in the next 4 years, your residents, constituents will be criticizing the work you would have done over those years. And so I hope that by the time you are leaving office, we have better things to say about you than you're saying about the outgoing president.
No, you see, the issue is that criticisms are always good, especially when this is a positive criticism. So, but if you do something good and people don't see it, it means you are really not doing what they think you are doing. When you do something, people should feel it. That is why the reality of the MPP is different from the reality of Ghana. That is why they were giving this landslide defeat of all times. And I'm not sure they can ever recover from that.
Okay, so let's talk about Bank of Ghana. The governor, I think we should just leave it here for now. He is leaving office. You are coming in, so let's see what you do with the power that we've given you.
We want him to paint the reality on the ground before he leaves. He should tell us just for once, because we have gone through elections already. There's nothing new about them.
But you see, my question is, why does that matter? Because the rhetoric from the NDC is that when they actually assume office, they are going to do their own forensic audit and, expose whatever rot that has not yet been brought to light. So does it really matter that the president, in his very final sona, give you the reality that you are expecting, which may or may not be different from what his reality is? Does it really matter?
It does matter, because you see, these are records. When you come to Parliament to make a presentation, it goes into the record. So at least for once in your life, if you have no dignity, please, for once, let us feel that you are the president of Ghana.
Let's move on now. Do you want to reflect on the governor, or should I do some other stories?
The DDP that we have experienced in Ghana was one of the worst things that has ever happened to us. For once in my life, I saw pensioners going on the street to demonstrate and to cry and look for their money that they never had, monies that they could have used to solve their health issues they never had. And so if Addison is saying that Bank of Ghana is still independent from all those things that happened, then these are some of the things I say, that their relatives are different from our relatives. All we have seen, experience, they come back to tell us that it is different. And so in the midst of all that, you saw them using so much money in building a Bank of Ghana new office and doing so many, printing so much money and for the Akufo-Addo government, and they come back to tell us something different. So like you said, when we assume power, there are so many things that we're going to do. There will be a lot of forensic, there will be a lot of sitting down around the table, opening the books for people to come to help us identify the reality on the ground according to their books. For now, their books are with them. We can only feel what it is on the ground. We can only feel how much kenke is being sold to us, how much fried fish is going, how much a plate of fufu will cost you, and all that. So that is the reality on the ground.
Okay.
So for me, when we get there, the books will be open. It will be an open book thing. Everybody should know what the reality is before we go on to do something new.
Let's stay on money and budget. You're talking about how much fufu costs and all that. Now, Parliament has approved that 68 billion Ghana cedi for the first quarter of 2025. Good news. But before you answer that, let me get a bit of the details out there for the benefit of our audience. So the funds are to be allocated across various sectors of the economy between January and March this year. And according to the Bini Budget 2025, the new John Mahama administration plans to spend 16,462,829 Ghana cedis on compensation for employees. And there are other expenditure on goods and services set for over 3 million, while interest payments, billion rather, while interest payment will cost the nation 20 billion. And other expenditures include 45 million for subsidies, 9 billion for grants to other government units, and 234 million for social benefits. And it goes on and on and on. I think later on in the show we'll discuss all that. But what do you make of the 68 billion Ghana cedi that's been approved for the first quarter of 2020?
Yeah, so you see some of these things are just templates you follow, because how much we pay to government workers is already known. If there's an increment, at least those adjustments will be made into it. And so there isn't anything specifically new about this. It's been a template that we follow to produce. And so for me, yes, those are the projections. The actuals may not be too different, especially when it comes to emoluments of government workers and other things. And then the interest payments on our loans, they are things that statutorily we are supposed to be doing. And so once those are the things we need to do compared to whatever will be generating income to be able to meet these demands, I believe that they may not be too far from the reality. So, except of course, when we come and then we begin to realign, especially the Article 71 payments to the minister, depending on the number you now pick, then those things will reduce. So those are some of the things that will go into the budget. Right. But at least for the first 3 months, I'm sure that will be playing within those figures that have been banded around. So it may not be too different from whatever it is.
Okay. Let me quickly do some more stories on myjoyonline.com before we move on to other portals. So the National Security Minister bans drone flights during presidential inauguration. I think that's a good call. GES rejects CHAS's postponement request. Yeah, let's get a bit into this. It's an important story. Yesterday, I saw that statement. Now, the Ghana Education Service says the reopening dates for senior high schools remains unchanged. So it means they're going back to school today. Despite the request for CHAS, that is a Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, for a postponement of reopening. Now, CHAS a few weeks ago addressed the Ministry of Education and warned that a failure to address the financial constraints facing the second cycle schools before January 3rd, which is today, could disrupt reopening process. And it went ahead to advise strongly against the reopening of schools in a statement a few days ago. However, Ghana Education Service in a statement issued yesterday is saying that nothing has changed. It said 2024-2025 academic calendar will proceed as previously announced, which means despite the financial challenges and the constraints that CHAS is warning GES about, GES is saying that let's go on. And so today, people are going back to school.
That is what we have subscribed for the past 8 years. The managers of our schools against the Education Ministry, and for that matter, the President. I was likening the rule of the President and the Minister of Education vis-a-vis the secondary schools to the rule of King Nebuchadnezzar. It's a high-handedness rulership over these managers of our secondary schools. I was national president of one of the biggest secondary schools in the country for at least 6 years, and I've had the opportunity to talk to most of our people, even after I handed over to become an MP now. These are times that you see headmasters themselves going to take loans to manage their schools until government pays back. Can you imagine? A headmaster whose salary may be maybe more than 5,000 thereabout has to go for a loan to come and manage somebody's kids for so long. And so this level of high-handedness and you see, that is why as soon as they realized that the government has lost, they began talking. The question is, where was CHAS all this was? Why were they not talking? It was because they live under the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar.
Okay.
When you talk,
Mr. Lukuto,
yes,
you're not very friendly with the outgoing government, I must say.
I don't expect you to.
No, I don't expect you to be friendly either. But I'm just saying that.
No, so the fact of the matter.
Call them names. We shouldn't.
No, I'm only likening them to a reign. I'm only likening.
Saying that the president is going to the line spree, and now you're talking about.
You know what the metaphor. You know what the metaphor is.
I get it. I know the Bible story. I'm just saying. Yeah. Let's be circumspect in our.
Yeah, sure. So the point is that the reality is that headmasters were under very strict and regimented management and rulership. And now that they are breathing a fresh air of freedom, Charles is speaking and headmasters are talking. That is all I mean to say that it's not been too good. So you ask them to reopen. How do you expect them to manage the kids that we give to them? And sometimes on your screens, we see the food that our children are being fed with. At the latter part of last year, we heard that there was some expired rice that were given to our secondary schools to be fed. Are you happy with that? Are you particularly happy if your child eats the things that we see on the screen? And so I'm being charitable to liken them to King Nebuchadnezzar and all those. So the fact of the matter is that these people have not treated Ghanaians well. And seriously, that is the verdict we have given to them in the election. So for me, they should have reasoned with them. People say there are no food staff in the school to feed the kids, and you are forcing the kids to go to school. And when that happens, parents are forced to be going every week and giving food to their kids. And those are the things we are experiencing. They say we have free SHS on the left, and then on the right, we are suffering more than if we are paying for our kids to go to secondary school. So I believe that, you see, in situations like this, let the ministers, let the president listen to people for once, and then play around. There's no money, so allow the kids to be home for some time. Why are you forcing them to?
I'm curious to know why the GES is refusing this, but until I have more details.
So you yourself, you are surprised.
I'm curious. I want to know why.
There is nothing new. What has happened over the years is that they force them to go and manage. Okay. And if you don't do it, they say you are not a good manager. They will send you from Kita School and send you to Salaga Secondary School.
Say again?
No, I mean they will send you from some school and then send you to some other place that you may not want to go. So,
do you have evidence to back that?
Oh, my dear.
No,
you are the one who are supposed to be giving me the list.
But you are the one on national television saying.
So we have seen and heard. I told you. I told you I was a national president of.
Yes.
All students of a particular school, Sogakofo Senior High, for 6 years, and so I was part of the school's management or school board. So I know.
That doesn't mean that you know what's happening in every other school.
Oh, my dear. Wow.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, so you are playing the devil's advocate, I guess.
Let's go to graphiconline.com because they are not here to defend themselves. So it's only fair that we look at the things from both sides.
Being made against them. We have seen and heard these things in the media.
I think this story will interest you. The National Council of the New Patriotic Party has appointed incumbent Majority Leader Alexander Penyumakin as leader of the minority of the NPP caucus in the 9th Parliament starting from January 7th. And this is on graphic.com. Okay, there you have it on your screens. Let me get a bit into that. The council has also made some appointments in the party's caucus in Parliament. They are the current Deputy Majority Leader, Patricia PJ, who has been maintained as Deputy Leader of the caucus, and the current Majority Chief Whip, Frank Anodompre, was also being maintained. And the party has also appointed the incumbent First Deputy Majority Whip, Habib Idrisu, as the First Deputy Minority Whip, and the MP from Praiso, Davis Opoku, as the Second Deputy Minority Whip. These appointments were confirmed when Graphic Online's parliamentary correspondent, Nana Kunedo Ajiman, reached out to the leadership of the NPP caucus. You still have Penyumakin to contend with in Parliament when he gets there.
Oh, the last time I heard our minority chief whip telling him that it was his posturing and his attitude that has brought the NPP this far or this low. So we are happy that they have maintained him. We'll still continue to whip their back. The fact of the matter is that, you see, in leadership, no one person knows it all. And so once you are treading a path, you should know whether you are leading well or the other way around. We saw the rancor that characterized the 8th Parliament, especially at the dying moment. Even though from the word go, because of the divided numbers, things happened, but I believe that getting to the end of it wasn't too good for Ghanaians. We didn't see too well the kind of relationship that should exist between leadership in Parliament, because so many things we saw him running to the court as if a child was running to the mom when he was being whipped. And so if that is the best bet they have and they are pushing them forward, hooray. For us, we have more than 2 texts. So they might as well be at home with their tablets and they allow us to go to the house and then take decisions.
Do you see the wisdom in the rhetoric of those who are cautioning us to watch you with very eager eyes that you have an overwhelming two-thirds majority in parliament, you could use that to do dangerous things in the country.
We are not a dangerous group of people. The dangerous group of people are the ones that have been booted out of government.
And if you say so yourself, huh?
We are circumspect and we are cautious. We listen to Ghanaians. We are not like the other one that will cause journalists to be fleeing this country and then they run after their shadows. We are listening. Mahama had the worst criticism in the media, but he took it. He took it in good faith, and then so many things, lies were said about him. Manasseh Azuri and the rest of the people came back to say that most of the stories they wrote about him were really not the whole truth, and so he took everything in good faith. Lost the election miserably, and now he's bounced back resiliently. And I believe that the Mahama we knew is the same Mahama we're going to see. I'm not sure we'll be reckless enough to misapply our over two-thirds majority that we have in parliament. Most of the things I'm sure that will be based on consensus with Ghanaians, not with the micro minority. I'm sure that will be guided.
Let me run through some stories here, some news headlines for today, and while we wrap up. Tuesday, 7 January, declared statutory public holiday for Constitution Day. So take notes, cherished audience. NPP sets up committee to investigate 2024 election defeat. I think I want to wrap with that story. Let's get into it a bit and see what they're talking about. So the New Patriotic Party has formed an 11-member committee to investigate the party's defeat in the 2024 general election. And the committee will be chaired by Professor Aaron Michael Quay, a former Speaker of Parliament. And this decision was made during a National Executive Council meeting held in Accra yesterday and chaired by the party's national chairman, Stephen Ayensu Intim. I thought it was pretty clear why or what accounted for the loss. But yeah, this is for you to review.
Yeah, sure. So as you said, it was pretty
I thought it was pretty clear.
That they were being stubborn, they were not listening, they were telling a lot of lies. There were so many unfortunate things that Ghanaians experienced under this government. And the more you say, the more they do. It's just like that song, who can't cry me anymore. So that was what they did, and I don't know what next they want to unravel. Maybe the monies that were sent, all of them were not.
But as a political party, I mean, it falls on them to actually do proper investigation where they overpromised and under-delivered. They can learn the lessons and then take it into the next election, because that's not the end of the party.
Yes. There isn't anything.
They are still a very, formidable force, the NPP, are they not?
Formidable in the shadows. Yeah, so we have demolished the NPP to the barest minimum. This is the worst defeat they have ever experienced in their life. And so it is just normal business that they go back to the round table to tickle themselves and laugh. To me, Napo and presidential candidate Baumia, they were on the dancing spree on the stages going all over. And then to me was brandishing his gold all over the TV, and money was being shared as if there was no end to the suffering of Ghanaians. And it was only during that time that we saw there was so much money. And the admonition we gave to Ghanaians was that, take it chop, but go vote against them. They did just
they did that, eh?
They did exactly that. There was so much money flying over. During the day of the election, when I was going around, my people were telling me, oh, they are sharing 200, and I said, go and take it back, come and vote otherwise. Me myself, if I got the opportunity, I would have taken it. No, I didn't get the opportunity. If I had, I would have taken it.
Right.
So that was a verdict we gave to them with their misrule, their high-handedness, and all we have seen under them. They will go, and maybe then their relatives were different from the relatives of Ghana. Now that we have sent them to the doldrums, they will go and then listen better. Now they are as ordinary as anybody. Then they were in power, so their glasses were not down. Now they will roll out their glasses and listen. So I'm sure with that, they will come back. I'm not sure they will even come back to tell us what they found out of.
Posterity will reveal all. We'll all find out eventually.
No, but the fact is that, as you said, you and I, we know what really caused them. And so there wouldn't be anything new.
Maybe the investigation will reveal something that, We haven't yet.
But they definitely are coming to talk to us.
So on the BBC, on the BBC website, I want to focus on the stories of Africa. Boy 8 survives 5 days in lion-inhabited game park. Wow. And this is happening in Zimbabwe just 14 hours ago. And the young boy ate wild fruits and dug small wells in dry river banks to find drinking water in Zimbabwe. Drunken Zambian policeman freed 13 suspects to celebrate New Year. A manhunt is underway for the 13 suspects who were allegedly released by an intoxicated police officer. Wow, talk about drinking on the job. And Ivory Coast says French troops to leave West African nation. Let me actually get into this story. The country is home to the biggest remaining continent of African French troops. So Ivory Coast has announced that French troops will withdraw from the West African nation, further reducing the military influence of the former colonial power in the region. And in the end of the year address, Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara said the move was a reflection of the modernization of the country's armed forces. And this is happening all around us, especially the Francophone countries. I hear that people are praising Traoré for what he's doing there, but really, I don't think military intervention is any way to go in Africa. If you know the history of the military takeovers and how they became dictators and then people, it's like a cycle that should not repeat itself. But looks like we're seeing pockets of that around us. But this is great.
So the situation now is that the world all over, dialogue, negotiation, and all that is the way to go, not necessarily military and all that. It's never helped any country. And so I'm sure that when we begin to withdraw, human beings will begin to think that let's rather sit around a table and talk. It's all about fighting over one thing or the other. So if we can sit down and negotiate and share, there will not be war.
Right.
And so it's always peace that we should look for, and negotiation and peace building is the way out. And democracy has come to stay. If you don't do it well, we boot you out like we did to this government. And so for me, let's always sit down, let's always talk. Somebody will always have a lion's share when you are sharing. So sometimes just look at that and say, let me let this go for the sake of peace. It always will help us.
Right. Well, I'll give you a minute or so to give me your final words. If you want to say Happy New Year to your friends and family, that's allowed.
Yeah, sure. So let me use this opportunity to say hi to my constituent, South Tongue constituency. All the way from the Wekope through Butame.
The Wekope?
The Wekope.
Okay.
Which of the villages are you from?
Bozuma. Which of Bozuma?
Bozuma. Oh, okay. Netiama.
Goshima.
So let me say hi to my constituents from the Wekope all the way through to Butame, to Tojinu. So Gakope is our district capital. And then from Yokutikpo all the way to Hawi, Galosota, and then all around. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to all of you. I'm grateful for the opportunity you have given to me to represent you in the big House of Parliament. You have known me for all these years, and I know that I will do my best just to make sure that South Tongue is counted among the constituencies in the whole of this country. I wish you all the best, and I hope and pray that you continue to support me with your prayers. That's the most important one, so that I will be in good health and strength, and that I'll come back to do all the best you wish I do for you. I wish you all the best to my team members, to my constituency executives, and to everybody who helped me to get to where I am. To our sitting member of Parliament, Honorable Mensa Kobna Oyome, and to all other aspirants, I wish you all the best in this year.
Right.
And may God himself strengthen all of us and end it well with us. God bless all of us.
Amen. And I wish you the very best as well. That day is surveyor and engineer. You're a man who wears many hats. Maxwell Lukuto, MP-elect for South Tongue, and he joined us for News Review this morning. Thank you for coming, sir.
Thank you,
now, for Friday's AM Sports Edition, you know that's Prime Take. Muftan Abil Abdullahi sits with former Black Stars player Augustine Ahinful for an insightful conversation coming up next. Please stay.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Prime Take. Today we are having a conversation with a former Black Stars international. In fact, his outfit, I'm sure, reminds him of his early days when he started out his footballing journey, where he grew up to represent the country at the highest level of continental football. Unfortunately, one of the stories that follows his generation is one of those things that happened recently, where the Black Stars was not able to qualify to the next edition of the African Cup of Nations. And this was 2003 in Kigali. Today, we're having a conversation that coincidentally is at a point where Ghana has not been able to qualify for another African Cup of Nations, which is happening in Morocco next year. So I'm sure probably it's an area he'll be touching on when I do ask him that question about what it feels to have been part of a team that unfortunately disappointed Ghanaians. Augustine Ahinful is my guest here on Prime Take. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I've changed this interview for like a year now.
It's true, more than a year. Because you don't choose the right time.
So this is my problem.
Yes, the problem is you. You know, today you got me rightly because today is Monday. I have to go and play football. So you can see in my jersey already going to this.
So what does this remind you of, this outfit, this dressing?
It's normal. I mean, we've been like that since the days of me growing up in Takoradi. Like every Monday in the afternoon, we'll have to go to Police Park, we call, to go and look at all these top players there. Ebo Smith, Emmanuel Kwachi, Kofi Abre, and the rest, Fred. And then, strangely, they all loved me. And so I was always in there with them. They encouraged me a lot because they had dealt with my father before.
Oh, okay.
My father coached secondary as a case. I mean, he played the team before he was the captain and he became the coach. So I think when I was born, he was the coach. So I grew up interacting with all these.
Your football has been in your DNA?
Oh, yes. 4 of us, 4 boys, all of us played football.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, that's interesting. And it came naturally. It wasn't as though our father played football, so he was pushing us to play football. Unlike recently, you see some parents pushing their wards to go and play football. No, it just came. Me, for instance, I had completed GSTS waiting for my results, GCE then, and one day I visited the training of soccer missionaries, sitting under a mango tree at the training grounds, and Coach Amwa walked to me and he said, Infante, what's a Yimbo Papa? I said, oh yes, coach, okay. Start training with us tomorrow. The rest is history.
The rest is history. That's a good one. But were you that talented? Because for Coach Amwa to just walk in and...
Yeah, because I think somebody has spoken to him about me. You know, playing, growing up in Takoradi, playing coach as usual. Yeah. I started as a midfielder. You can say an offensive midfielder.
Yeah.
And so, all through my coach playing days, I played through, you say number 8. And so, when I transitioned into a striker, I could score goals that people did not understand because I learned from playing as the number 8. I could always pop in the area without you noticing me. Yeah. So it was so now I'm old, and if I'm playing at the back, because now when we go, I play at the back, and
because you don't want to run.
Not like that. I think I run more than most of my colleagues now.
Oh really?
Oh yeah, because we've put on weight and all that. So I run most. So I have to be at the back to cover them. But it was the best amongst all the people that were interviewed. And he applied for under 17 specifically. Because he thought he was now.
Yeah.
But the job was given to Park Kwesi, assisted by Pele. So I called Uncle Ben. I said, Uncle, what is starless to Ghana football? And he said, it is the foundation. Of the game here in Ghana. I said, okay. So I said, so if you don't get it right from the beginning, the end result will not be the right. He says, yes. I said, okay, Uncle, why would we appoint Park Kwesi Fabian as under 17 coach? Brilliant. And say Opele should assist him. I'm not saying Opele is not good. But look, the under 17 is the foundation. Players are supposed to be 15 years, 14, 15, and 16. They are still amateurs. These players don't know what really entails or pertains in the game. So if they get certain things wrong technically, we, the coaches, have to demonstrate to them on the field of play. Isn't it? He says, yes. But Uncle, you know Park Kwesi Fabian did not play football. I mean, he's been part of so, but he didn't play football physically. Opele, no. So, if these people were coaching the Black Stars or Satellite, fine. But not Starlets. Because the things that they are going to get them wrong, that they will not be able technically
to teach
them. Then he says, Augustine, when are you coming down? And I said, oh, in about 4 weeks' time. Okay, when you come, let me know, I'll call a meeting. And I want you to ask the same question. Indeed, I came down, I called the uncle, I'm back. Okay, next week, Tuesday, I'll have a meeting. So we went. And he told me, when you come into a meeting, ask that question. When it comes to any other business. So we did our thing, and then when he go, I asked the same question. And then Coach Adi, may he so rest in peace, said, Augustine, you are right. But you see, we put Opele there for media purposes. Yes. What for media purposes?
You hire a coach,
yes,
for the foundation of your football,
yes,
just for the media purposes?
Yes, they put him there for the media purposes. And I said, why, coach?
What sort of justification was given for that?
So, you can see that the real pressure did not come from them. But technically, it wasn't the right. And if you can remember, for me, it was one of the worst under 17 teams that we had. Because we went to a tournament, I think, in Algeria, if I'm not wrong, Algeria or Morocco. And we lost the first game to Nigeria by 6-1 or something, if I'm not wrong.
Which year was this?
2011.
2011?
Yeah, 2011, somewhere there about. You can go back and check.
Yeah,
we came out of the.
Yeah, that was one of the horrible U17 teams that had to get Salah Sete to come back to take over the
under 20.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, if we do this thing to ourselves, and somebody who has played the game before and knows these things, and you talk about, I'm not a talkative.
But couldn't people have said that because you have a good relationship with CK, that's why you, in your opinion, you think CK should?
No, it wasn't that I wanted CK to be the coach. I said, amongst the people that came for the interviews, everybody had been given an area to apply for. He applied for under 17. So if interviews are conducted and he comes on top of that area that he had applied for,
and he's not handed it,
and he's not giving it to him,
yeah,
and then we give to some other people because of supposed whatever
media,
and then it goes wrong, who are you supposed to blame?
But as a committee, couldn't the committee have insisted that based on the interviews we conducted, these were the people,
the executive
first,
always
second,
has
third,
the advantage over it. They don't want to say it. The executive always wants what they want to be.
Then what is the essence of the technical committee also interviewing people and cannot make suggestion that this person should be the person we believe can lead the technical team?
They'll say you are not a team player. After you have been in this business for that long.
But we're having a conversation.
I'm not supposed to be the one to tell you what's happening. It happens.
I need to understand, because the point is that if you hire me to do a job for you, and I make recommendations based on my technical experience, but you decide to overlook what I've suggested and go to hire someone, quote unquote, who do not have the technical abilities to execute what the technical team thinks should be done, then we are doing ourselves a great disservice.
That's how come we are where we are. Because people are not willing to come out. In the name of team. You are not part of the team, you are not part of the team. But my brother, as you sit here, if you identify that I'm doing something which is not right, and you are not able to tell me, and you continuously look the other way for me to perpetrate that, and I fail, haven't we failed together?
At this point, I've supervised your failure.
So, you see, we have to begin to really understand the norms of this game and try to correct them. Seriously. Other than that, tomorrow you get me in another interview, you pose the same question, will probably give you worse answers than what I'm giving you now. But that is the reality. It is.
Did you eventually find out who hired Pakwesi and Opele?
I told you earlier on that 3 members of the executive committee then, now it's called executive council.
Yeah.
And then 3 members of the technical committee would always meet to interview. At the end of the day, the decision is collective. So if the technical committee then will propose, and then the executive does not take it, and then they think otherwise, they make those appointments. The technical committee can't come out to come and say subsequently that this is what we did, and then
why can't
you can, but you come, you say that, and you know that you are off next time.
Yes. So to protect your integrity,
yes.
Then it
you
is
remember. You remember 2015?
Yes.
4 years after serving 4 years on the technical committee of the FA, I was moved to the under-20 national team.
Okay.
As a management committee member. So I was part of that illustrated team that went to New Zealand.
And you were beaten by Mali.
Yes. And guess what? You see, these are the things that I don't understand. As a committee member, 2 or 3 persons from the committee are supposed to be part of the team at any time that they travel. But you have me, Augustine Ahinful, who has played the game before, has played under 20 all the way to the final. We have won the AYC. I was the top scorer. We went to the World Cup. I was one of the top scorers. I think we were 2 or 3. But Zambrano from Colombia won because he played fewer matches. Who has transitioned to becoming a coach? And also,
you have to add a calf license A, isn't it?
Yes, and then also a member of a committee. And then we were in training camp in Turkey when we were going for the AYC in Senegal. I was with the team in Turkey because they know Turkey was my base and they needed me to communicate with the language and all that. But when we were going for the tournament in Senegal, I was dropped. Because supposedly I had traveled the team to Turkey, so I could not. Some other committee members should go. But you have to bear in mind that I have played the game before. I am a coach. And so if I'm a member of the committee, I can even assist the coach in terms of when things go bad, technically. The same thing happened. We went to Australia for pre-tournament camp before the World Cup, but I wasn't part of the team to New Zealand. So I had to return to Ghana while the team was in New Zealand. So after the World Cup, when we came back, a radio interview somewhere in Takoradi. At the time, the election was upcoming, the GFA elections.
Okay.
And then
this should be August 2015.
Yeah, somewhere there. August 2015. So it was this regional, before they would do the regional.
Yeah, the RFA and all that.
And the Western region, my own area. The chairman then, who lives partly in Ghana, partly in the US, some other people wanted to contest him. And those people were disqualified. So I happened to be in Takoradi and I was called on a radio program. And I said, this election is coming on and blah, 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 they've disqualified. Then I asked the question that what was the
criteria?
And they said, some other person who was supposed to, like yourself, me, we are in the same team. You are the chairman, I'm the vice. And when he brought his documentation to be endorsed, you, the chairman, was not there. So I, the vice, signed on behalf of the club. And so that, the person was disqualified because they said the chairman did not sign. But I'm asking myself that, were they aware that that person who signed also belongs to the club? If anything at all, they could tell the person who brought the forms that, look, it wasn't this man who signed, so take it back for him to sign. And in the rules, it allows that. So they disqualified them. So as the guy posed the question to me on air, it just came out naturally, infanti, that, Charlie, you know, I are corrupt. Yeah, you know, I are corrupt. Because if the person could not be asked to go back for that ratification and then for him to bring it back, and then because of that,
what if the window had elapsed? If the window elapses,
I don't think the window should elapse. They know. Because so if I bring my forms to you, and then you look at the forms and you know something is not right, you can always go, Augustine, this is not right, so go and change this and bring it. Because what you want the thing to stand firm and stand well. So 2 persons were disqualified, and the person who lives partially in Ghana and partially outside was going on opposed. And the chairman is a friend. I mean, we are colleagues all from Takoradi. I don't hate him. But it didn't sound right to me. Allow people to come and contest and then win. And everybody know that you've won. But when people are disqualified, like recently we saw the FA elections and George Jeffrey was disqualified. The question is that this is somebody who has been the vice president of the FA before. Is it just that we just hold on to some little mistake to take advantage of.
But if you want to lead the association, you should know those little mistakes should not be made. Because some of those little mistakes can be detrimental to the entire football governing body if you are given an opportunity to lead the association.
So we are where we are now because of these things.
So we are too book long? Is that what you're saying?
Well, because of these things. You see, sometimes you should be. Look. Can George Effe lead the FA? That should be the first question. Can he lead the FA? Yes or no? Yes, for me. Because he's been part before. Maybe not on the top. Okay, so what can we do to remedy the situation? Allow people to go into contest. Not like unopposed, but allow people to contest those people that you feel that they want to be there. And when they win and they are propagating their agendas, you can see that it is going right.
Yes, the similar thing that happened to Palmer 5 years ago was equally wrong.
It was. What was Palmer's crime? That he sold a player and didn't pay the FA a 10%, so he was disqualified on that. Really? I mean, it wasn't an infraction of the rules of the game or something, but it was like he saw the player. And when I asked him, Palmer and myself are very close.
Oh, sure?
Yes. He was my chairman of the Under-20 committee.
Oh, okay.
Proud to that. And he's somebody who really respects the former players when you interact with him. George Free, 1996, way back. I don't know how old you were. When we were going for the Olympic Games.
I was 6.
Olympic Games in the US, we had a training camp in Japan before we went playing to the US. George Free was there. So when we were going for shopping, he was the one taking us out. We go here, we go there. So he's loved football. And recently he showed me a picture of us. Way back 1996 when we were in Tokyo. Palmer's issue. A player was transferred on loan from his club to
Frankfurt.
Yes, in Hungary.
I wrote that letter to FIFA.
So that player played after his season, spotted by the club in Belgium. And then what? The FA was refusing to issue a license or ICT. FIFA gave provisional license for the player to go. So if FIFA gave that license, no, you had no right to hold on to the boy's transfer. The boy should go. Fast forward, that FA collapses. A normalization committee sits. And now they say what? He has to go back and come and pay a 10%. That if Ghana had issued that certificate, would have come to Ghana. Back to Ghana. Ghana did not issue the transfer certificate, Masa. So I think that there could have been a dialogue. How do you remedy this? Is this person going to come to help Ghana football? The answer was yes.
What about his comments on radio? Ghana did not pay indemnities. That's why we didn't qualify for.
You see, sometimes it is him.
World 2008.
It is him.
The World Cup 2018 rather, yeah.
It is him. He chose to make those comments.
But someone with integrity shouldn't be making such comments. If you want to run an association,
so when power corrupts you, when you speak, you don't think. Excuse me to say. So you speak and after realize that I shouldn't have spoken.
So in that area, you agree that he got it wrong and
some of the communications, yes, because you see, when you want to at all costs force me into a bucket, what will I do? Look at how tall I am. You want to force me in a bucket which is like that. Won't I struggle to come out of it? So he's struggling to come out of it. How can he take something and hit it with it? To be able to. So he also felt that he had to come out to defend himself.
Let's rewind.
For me, I think that it was wrong. It was wrong.
Let's rewind the conversation a bit. What is that one thing you've never told anyone about yourself?
I don't know. I think everything about me is out there.
No?
Yeah.
There are definitely some aspects of you that we don't know.
Oh, what? My kids?
How many?
I have 3 boys, 3 girls.
6?
Yes.
Wow, what a striker.
I'm a grandfather now.
Oh, really?
Yes, my firstborn has a nice baby boy in the US. They are all outside of Ghana. You know, I lost their mom when the first one was barely 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Next month, 11th December will be 15 years she passed. Now my son will be 27 early next year. And then the second one is 20. They are all down with university. The third one is in Minnesota University. The fourth one recently completed Accra Girls. She left last Friday to US. The fifth one is in the US high school. And then the last one is with my current wife. Yes, she's also over there. So that's all that. But so I've said it.
You are born in more?
Eh?
You go born more?
I don't think so. But if it comes, it comes. You know, I had in mind, when we got married, I had in mind of having 2 kids. 1 girl and a boy. Because I loved girls growing up with their hair made and all that. I loved. So it was always my prayer to have a firstborn girl and then a boy. And then we had a boy. And then, like, almost 3 years, another boy. Between this one and that one, almost 5 years, another boy.
Back to back to back.
Boy. My wife was so down. And then almost immediately, between the 3rd and the 4th, she got pregnant. So my 3rd born and the 4th born, it's exactly 1 year, 9 months difference.
Okay.
Yes. He's born January, the girl is born in September. 5th January, 8th September. So it was exactly, so she got back, pregnant again. And every test that we had said it was a boy. And then she gave birth, it was a girl.
Oh, nature.
Everything. Even the videos on screen in the US, you can see the testicle, everything there. But when she gave birth, it was a girl.
Nature?
Yeah.
Nature finally gave you your girl?
Yeah.
So you can strike.
Yeah, when I had the girl, I was overjoyed. But the 5th one also came. And from nowhere, I don't know. It was God's doing. Because there's a lot of stories behind. Maybe that is my secret I don't want to share. I'll share it on another platform. When we come to religious platforms, this is not a religious platform.
No, let's have that religious conversation. No, in fact, I'm interested. I'm interested in the wonderful hand of God in this.
Oh yes, because you see, I had decided I didn't want to play football again, 2008, because I couldn't run from here to there, and then my knees would be swollen. It was like, you see, like it would be shaking as though there was water in there. And it happens playing football. Once every now and then you have to go, they will drain the water out of the fluid. And then 2008, I said, I can't deal with the pain again. And I didn't want to have any operation, so I stopped. That's how I stopped football. So for 3 years, I couldn't play Monday Stars. I couldn't run from here to there. And because I couldn't run. I'll go to training at the Biology Park, my friends Osekufo and the rest will be playing, I'll be sitting there watching them. So one day I went to church on a Sunday. And as we're doing the worship songs, the woman who was singing, who was not a pastor, just said, I've seen that the Holy Spirit has entered here and is holding somebody and they are healing that person. They are holding the person's knees and they are healing the person. So as I stood there, I just said to myself, oh God, I wish it was me. All my friends play Monday Star. I said, I don't play soccer for 3 years. I wish it was me. So I just prayed that prayer. And then after the worship, I decided to walk down there to go and get a bottle of water. So as I walked towards the gate there, somebody tapped me from behind. And when I turned, it was the woman who was on stage singing. I said, Mr. Ahinful, hey, can I speak to her? I said, why? He says, what I said was you. As I was singing, the Holy Ghost opened my eye and I saw 2 angels. One was leaning left and the other right. They were shaking your knees like this. That's why I asked, that what are they doing? They said they are healing you. I said, yeah, that's why I stopped playing football. So wow, then the God is doing something. Do you believe in this anointing oil thing? I said, so buy one there for me. There's a woman who sells it. So I bought a small body olive oil. She prayed over it and gave it to me to just use it on my leg. So I came when I applied it 1 or 2 times. I just put the oil somewhere. Exactly a month after. Exactly a month after, because it was a Sunday. That day was a Monday. So I just put on my shirt like this and I went to the park and I was playing football. Everybody was, Augustine, have you been training secretly? I said, no, I'm healed.
Wow.
Yeah. And then this last born girl that I'm talking about. So when I came home 2000, that I wanted to stop football. I think a month or 2 after, my wife said she was pregnant. I said, you say you have your girl. You have the girl. You're going to do family planning. You know I'm a striker. I can shoot and score from angles.
Angle.
And then she says, I didn't know. Then I didn't know women were secretive. Like, she brought out a diary. Everything that had happened between ourselves since I met her is in that diary. So she said, oh, you know, you came to from Turkey on this day. I had my menses on that day, so I was safe. So when we had sex, I couldn't have been pregnant, but I'm pregnant. I said, no problem. She said, no. People will say that we are giving birth as though we don't think. Because you have 3 boys and a girl want to. I said, but you are my woman. He says, no. So she went to see the doctor and he was terminated. And then I went to US because my leg was not rest. I went for a checkup. And then I came back after a month, some weeks down the line, I came. And then some 2 months down the line, she said she was pregnant again. I said, madam, if you have Ola Body Williams here, you are doing all things like that.
You have a striker at home.
And then she says, no, the same thing happened and blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, yeah, keep it, no problem. I mean, God gives and then she carried the pregnancy for like 3 months. And then one day I was going for an all-night service. So when I got there, I picked my phone. I wanted to put it in the letterbox there. Yeah. And I saw she sent me a message that I have an appointment with the doctor tomorrow to go and terminate the pregnancy because I can't do it anymore. The sleepless night and all that. I said, no problem, go ahead and do it. But, madam, should something happen, count me out. So I went to the church. I put my phone. I went to church. After church, when I went to the church and I was praying, I saw this pastor that had visited us from Kumasi. He was walking towards me, but we're praying. So he just came and then stood beside me and then whispered to me that God is telling me that I should tell you that your wife is pregnant, that she wants to touch it. This is the 2nd time. And the moment he said this is the 2nd time, I began to shake a bit. So I looked at him like that. He says, did you hear what I said? Me say, I may catch him and say, oh, you're after your phone person in Saka. Corner ko catch him and say, oh, no, I mean, problem be a she shouldn't touch that pregnancy. This is the 2nd time. In fact, I couldn't pray again. So I just came out. I waited. The church was over like 4 a.m. thereabout. Then after, I showed the message to the pastor. He said, oh, what's the problem? I said, I don't know. She said she has too many kids. So, no, I'll be here. So bring her to church. Let me counsel her. So I came home. And I said, well, let me sleep. When she wakes up then. So I went to sleep in the other bedroom. Because she was there. As I was sleeping down there, then my phone message, ping, 5 o'clock, who will be sending me text me, 5. Then I heard the voice that read the message. It was clear, audible voice, read the message. I just got up, I pressed the phone, and it was my wife. I am at the hospital waiting for the doctor. She had moved the car from the house, and I was so tired, so I didn't even hear. So I called her, I said, madam, this is what I went to church. I was told. But once again, like I told you in the text message, I'm not going to stop you. Go ahead. If something should happen, count me out. You're a big girl, madam. I just hung it up. Then I didn't see her the whole day. I think she went to her mom's place and she never came back until very late. I didn't ask her whether she did it or she didn't do it. I was there. I could see the pregnancy was coming. Then she gave birth to the last one. But strangely, 6 months after giving birth, she passed. So these are my secrets.
It is a hand of God for me.
It's now 15 years.
God having to speak to you.
Yeah.
I don't want to remind you of old, but how were you able to take care of a 6-month-old baby?
You know, like you said, God, sometimes you don't understand him, but it is what it is. Whether he's here with us or he's somewhere, we don't know. But I believe that he's amongst us. The small girl never took breast milk the first day she was born. Never. So from the word go, she was on milk, like the artificial one. In the US, when you give birth, they supply you this milk. Yeah. You can't use it tomorrow. It's just today. When the baby doesn't drink it, you discard it. So
you get another one.
Yeah, it is supplied you. So every now and then you go for it and until the baby. And she never took the breast milk.
Senior lecturer, beg your pardon, senior lecturer at UCC School of Business. We'll talk to Dr. Joseph Obeng, his Guta president in terms of trade. We'll also talk to Dr. Amachi Boateng in terms of governance. He's a political scientist at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And for security, we'll talk to Dr. Victor Duque. He's security analyst at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. And of course, on corruption, we have Edem Senanu joining us, and he's member of African Union Advisory Board on Corruption. In fact, Edem Senanu joins us right now. Edem, good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you here. And we also have Dr. Sairam Kawal. Dr. Sairam, thank you so much for joining us. I nearly turned into a woman over there, huh? Right. So I want to start with you, Doc. Yeah, and Happy New Year. So
many thanks.
Okay. As you were expecting the final State of the Nation's address from President Akufo-Addo, what would be your assessment of his entire 8 years in office, especially in regards to the economy?
All right, thank you very much. The entire 8 years, let us break it down to the first 4 years and then the last 4 years of the current president. The first 8 years was good. The economy was moving well. The rate of inflation was low. The exchange rate was manageable during that particular period. And then we have a lot of infrastructure that they have implemented. We have the free SHS that was introduced but poorly managed. The things that were supposed to happen in terms of feeding, in terms of accommodation for the students, the contact hours that they should have had in the classroom were not properly done. And it has given avenue to other people from making money from the system. The headmasters and mistresses in the various schools have no say in terms of how they run their schools. They became a rubber stamp on what is happening, so they just follow instructions. The Parents Teachers Association was eliminated from the entire system and was replaced with the Parents Associations, where the teachers were not part of that particular system. Textbooks for the students were not also available. We had a wonderful program in terms of One Village, One Dam, planting for food and jobs, the NAPCO program. All these programs were laudable, they were good, but the implementation was not properly done. It became an avenue to employ party loyalists into the system, most of who went to the various places where they were placed and they were not having any jobs to do. And so government was just paying them money. When we come to the second term started well, but then what happened in the first term was that we were borrowing. We were borrowing for infrastructure and other things. But then what the government over the years, the successive governments have done is that any time that they borrow and it was time for repayment, what they do is that they go and borrow again. So during the second term, we were hit with COVID, and that has also distracted our flow of development. Once we were hit with COVID, government took some bold decisions to supply electricity and water freely to some citizens of the country. I said some citizens because not everybody in Ghana benefited from this. There are places that do not have water, they do not have electricity. It was a bold decision, but to me, it was not a good decision to make at that point in time, because people were just waiting to manage things for themselves, so that those monies that government would have used for these items would have gone into other areas of our national development. We had a lot of money that came into the country during that particular period. We have COVID fund that was raised. And then during the time, government gave support to businesses. But when you talk to people on the ground, the support that was given to these businesses were given to businesses that they knew that some of them do not have businesses. And these are loans that we were told were given to these businesses, and that if it is a loan, the loan must be paid back. But if you asked right now whether anybody had paid that particular loan off, we would have a different situation altogether, which is not good. So that affected us. But one wonderful thing that happened during that particular period was that the private sector was tasked to build a hospital. That's the infectious disease hospital, which they did in a record time. That's something good that came out of it. The giving of food, cooked food to the people. If I were to be part of that particular team, I would have advised that the raw food is given to the people, which is cheaper, and they will cook for a longer period of time, and that would have saved the country. But this cooked food comes with its own cost, and then government incurs so much amount of money. Now, the second, that during that particular time too, once we were hit, our exchange rate was worse. Inflation was so up. Cost of living in the country became very difficult. These things happened because Ghana was cut out from the international financial market where we used to borrow money. And the borrowing of the money at that particular point in time was stopped. And once it was stopped, you could not borrow anywhere, but rather to borrow from the domestic market, which we are still doing, which would take Ghana about 3-4 years before we go to the international financial market. That crowded out investors from the domestic market. And so it became very difficult for businesses to raise their funds, and it has increased the cost of borrowing from the market as we speak. Now, once that has happened, the finance minister took some decisions which were not good, and they will not inure to the benefit of the country. What were some of the things? They were collateralizing our foreign, our revenue. And we borrow now. So the future money is borrowed to the present to spend, and we do not have any funds that are available. We have the sinking fund that was established by the then government, NDC. We have the ESLA fund that was established for the energy sector. All these funds were not in good condition, and so we do not have money to pay. That led us to the domestic debt exchange. We had the domestic debt exchange that affected almost everyone.
Right.
The cause for the finance minister to resign was met with, I don't know how I'll put this one, acrimony. And president did not listen. And keeping the finance minister for that longer period of time affected everything that we have until the recent finance minister took over, but the harm had already been done. And so going forward, successive governments should look at a combination of factors on the person that they appoint as finance ministers. Managing a country and a public finance is totally different from managing a personal business and investment banking. And that was the greatest mistake this government has done by keeping the finance minister for a longer period of time.
Doug, by way of moving the conversation forward, I know you have a lot to say, and then we all know some of the challenges that, plague the economy. But, in 2019, Ghana was known as the fastest growing economy in the world. And this is according to the World Economic Forum. I'm reading that right now. The International Monetary Fund estimated that our GDP would be rising by 8.8%. And then we had COVID-19. The government says Russia-Ukraine war. And then we saw that tailspin for the economy. Now, would you say that in terms of how they managed the economy, the government has done enough to ensure a resilient recovery, I guess is the question I'm asking, because in terms of fiscal policy, debt management, like you're talking about, inflation control and all that, and if indeed Russia-Ukraine war and COVID-19 were the reasons why we saw that downturn, would you say that they did enough to ensure that the economy recovers resiliently?
I can't take that from the government. It's not very easy managing the country. They have done their part, they played a role, but in order to say that they have managed it efficiently and to make the economy resilient in terms of debt management and all the others, it wasn't properly done. The debts were taken and they were misapplied. We did not have value for money. We rather, during the time, introduced extra taxes that have overburdened the already existing taxpayers in the country. And that is something that we need to look at. COVID had brought us a lot of money. We had the COVID fund that was established, the COVID levy. We have introduced the e-levy, and we threw away the water that was already in the pot. That was the road tolls, and it was thrown away because it was given a peanut. Policy implementation became a problem. If you have good policies and you want the economy to be resilient, to meet the shocks that will come, you need to carry the citizens along. If the citizens do not buy into the policies and they do not accept it, that policy is bound to fail. And so during that particular period, that was what we saw. COVID did not only hit Ghana, it hit the entire world. And countries that have benefited from that, they have infrastructure to show that this is what they've had from that particular one. It was during the COVID that we had the Agenda 111. How many of the Agenda 111 hospitals were built during that particular period? Countries have something to show. Countries were able to provide water to places that do not have water. But we rather removed the payment of water from those who already have. And we ignored those who were not having that particular one. Schools were built for countries that also were hit with COVID. They used the COVID funds to do that. But what do we see? Schools were rather struggling. Our children will have to go to school on shift system. And so some will go for 2 weeks or 1 month and they come back, others will have to go. So building that resilience was not, there was an effort to make it work, but it wasn't built so much that we have to come in. If the International Monetary Fund did not come in to give us support, Ghana would have been a collapsed country. But thanks to God, the calls for us to go to the IMF actually worked for us. And then there was external monitoring of the things that we were doing.
Just briefly, do you think that it could have been avoided going to the IMF? Do you think it could have been avoided?
It could have been avoided when the calls were made. We made calls that the country was finding it difficult, and so we could have gone to the IMF a year or two earlier. And if we had gone to the IMF a year or two earlier, it gives us that policy credibility in the international market, and then we would have even avoided the debt restructuring, which affected a lot of people and all the rest. The banking sector cleanup also affected people. As we speak, on the records, they said they have paid everybody. But people who are listening to us today, including myself, will say that the payment of monies with the investment banks and all the rest have still not been paid. Government still owes people. And so it was a wrong effort on our part to go to the IMF late. But it is never late than, it is better late
than never. And you also talked about infrastructure and investment. Sorry for that interjection. I just want to move us forward quickly. Now, the government's flagship initiatives, like you just mentioned, what's it called? Agenda 111 Hospital and then 1D, 1F. Those are some of the promises that Ghanaians thought were good enough and they voted the outgoing administration into office, and the industrial parks and all that. Do you think they contributed meaningfully to diversification and job creation?
They might have done something, but not the scale at which we were made to believe that those things will come in. The one district, one dam. We had the issue of the Palugo multi-purpose dam. That payments were made, but no work was done on that particular one. The villages that the dams were constructed, it was a dugout, not really a dam, where the people actually needed drinking water, and you want them to go and use the water for farming. They want to live first before they go into that. So that was not properly done at all. The one district, one factory was an excellent program that would have created the job, lead to diversification, and bring about the infant industry that we needed in the country. And that would have also led to the protection of the local industrial sector. But what do we see? The one district, one factory was rather made a private sector initiative that we were told, but government was the one leading it. There were existing factories that were put up. I was expecting that these factories would have been owned by the people in the district. They contribute the capital to that. Employment created for these people, so that the factories, the raw materials that these people have at those places were done. These companies would have been listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange, where other Ghanaians would have benefited from it. But the way it was done, it wasn't done properly. Yes, we have some. We have the the cylinder manufacturing company, but they were allowed to compete with global companies in the country. And we have seen the videos of those things coming up, and that was very bad. We have excellent policies, no doubt about it, but the implementation was problematic because people put themselves before the country.
Okay. Now, by way of insight into our expectations for today, what specific updates on the economy should Ghanaians be expecting from the president? And what do you yourself, if you were to make an educated guess, do you think the president will be talking on or touching on in terms of the economy?
The president will surely talk about the free SHS, that it was a policy that came in that people who do not initially have the chance of going to secondary school would have benefited from that. The government will surely talk about the factors that led to the deteriorating nature of our economy. So Russia-Ukraine war will come in. We will have the issue of COVID also coming in. The president, as usual, would praise some of the ministers who have worked diligently with him as he has seen over time. He may talk about the budget that was read yesterday and saying that they are going to leave power and they are going to give the current government a good economy and a good background to start with. But then some of those things also have issues. If you could permit me to draw one issue from the mini budget. The mini budget that was read yesterday.
Right.
In terms of the revenue that we are generating, we put there that we are going to generate revenue from Social Security. How on earth will government generate revenue from Social Security? These are some of the things that affect us as a country. Government pays the Social Security to SNIT. SNIT funds are not meant for government. So when government workers are paying SNIT, it is that they are contributing. It is SNIT that is taking that money, not government taking that particular amount.
Yeah, it's not for government.
Money.
Yeah, I get the point.
It's not for government. Yeah. So why on earth will government add that to their revenue mobilization? And when you look at the expenditure side, they are going to pay Social Security. The amount of money they are generating is lower than the amount of money they will be paying. How would that happen? And these are some of the things that increase the debt that we have in the country. And so those who are part of SNIT would have to meet the finance ministry to find out how that is possible. And the Ghanaian workers would also have to ask a lot of questions to avoid some of these things happening.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Seron Kawo. That's Senior Lecturer at UCC School of Business, helping us put into perspective the expectation and analysis, really, of the economy in terms of President Akufo-Addo's tenure. Now, let's move the conversation forward and talk about corruption. Edem Senanu joins us. Edem, this administration promised to fight corruption aggressively. Simply, have they been successful in doing that in terms of, reducing corruption cases and incidents of graft and prosecuting people? Have they done enough? Edem, if you can hear me, please unmute. Well, we're trying to engage Edem Senanu on the bit of corruption in terms of assessing what this outgoing administration did, whether they, like I like to say, overpromised and underdelivered, and then look forward to some insights in terms of what the president will be speaking about today. It's supposed to be a comprehensive State of the Nation's address, touching on various sectors of the economy. So we are curious because corruption has been a significant issue in this country, and everyone is looking forward to what the president will say, what his own assessment would be on that regard. I don't know if we have Edem Senanu still with me. Well, he's not here. But let's go to Dr. Joseph Obeng, that is GUTA president, and let's talk about what they did for trade. Dr. Obeng, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Great. So now, in terms of trade, we know that Ghana's trade imbalance has remained a significant conversation throughout this tenure. Now, how well has the administration handled import dependency, and what impact has it had on businesses particularly?
Yeah. So we all recall that during the first term of the previous administration, they had promised to move away from taxation to production. So that to enhance on productivity. And that's where they removed what they called the nuisance taxes. And they did remove some of them. Then again, they introduced the paperless system at the ports to facilitate trade, to facilitate time and ease of doing business at the ports, which was also very good. Then they introduced the 50% reduction policy. That's the benchmark policy. What they sought to do is to reduce the cost of doing business in the country. So around the first term, we had all these advantages and benefits. Then we came to the second term where the nuisance taxes had to come back even more than it used to be. The new taxes that was introduced into the system. And then the problems that we had to face at the ports, the numerous task forces that were introduced all came to destroy the way of doing business. And so essentially this is what I will have to say. I will give the first term, I will say that they gave a lot of respite for businesses, but the second term, that's where we had these problems. The introduction of these taxes were so many, including the COVID levy, and all, what have you. And then most of the nuisance taxes that have been taken away had to come back because probably they needed the revenue as the economy was that bad. Okay, and then the issue of the exchange rate has been the bane of businesses. It has been the major problem that has faced us because since 2022, where we started the year with the dollar being 6.4, it ended at 15.5, where we suffered a lot of depreciation of our capital. And then there's one a major thing that they could have done, that to increase the satellite markets, to decongest our markets. These things we have talked about it on so many forums, and if would have gotten those satellite markets to decongest the markets, problems like the fire outbreaks that we are experiencing now would have been a thing of the past. So for me, these are the general overview with regard to trading. Yeah.
You've talked about those nuisance taxes, you've talked about city depreciation and so many other issues, but I want to focus on one district, one factory, because that initiative was actually aimed to boost local production and reduce imports, right? Would you say these policies yielded any results at all? Did they yield first the intended results? And if so, did you find it beneficial?
Yeah, I think we all know, because we travel a lot to other countries to buy goods, and we know how self-sufficiency have helped those countries. So the idea was very brilliant to have gotten a program that will ensure that we add value to our raw materials. There's no doubt and there's no argument about this. And so probably we could have identified the areas that we have comparative advantage and then dwell on them. Let's take, for instance, the tiles industry that is going on. Is succeeding because the raw material, the clay and all that we're talking, is so much in abundance in the country. Yeah. And that we have also done it well. So going forward, I think import substitution, I think all of, even the incoming administration has dwelled so much on import substitution, and we are all going to go for it because that's the only way forward to make the country self-sufficient and then reduce the over-dependence of importation. Okay. So, I mean, there should be a drift at a point, but then we should also accept that we cannot produce everything under the sun. We only can produce those things that we have comparative advantage. And that's what probably we failed to identify those areas, to put all our resources to make it work. I hope you understand. I get your point. Right. So if we are able to, going forward, if we identify these areas and then make conscious effort that we are making it a hub of production in this country, then of course we'll be rich in that area. Right.
Finally, before I get to your expectations, how well would you say Ghana leveraged the African Continental Free Trade Area, the agreement to boost trade, open markets for local businesses under this administration? How well did we utilize it?
So it's about competition. Even when we are trading within Africa, it means that we are competing with Togo, we are competing with Nigeria, the rest of the member states. Mm-hmm. And so when the cost of doing business was relatively higher in this country, it meant that we lost out from the advantage, even though the secretariat was established here. That's why we keep on saying that we have to reduce, because you cannot overprice or overtax your industries, because then you are overpricing the produce that they are bringing to bear. So because of competition and the fact that our taxes were higher, our cost of doing business were higher, I don't think we have any serious leverage on this. Other countries took advantage of this, and so going forward, we have to do everything possible to reduce the taxes that we are made to pay, at least from the beginning of production. We should make effort to get all our taxes at the end of our production. Not that we are being curtailed from the very beginning, where taxes and all that, it made the produce very overpriced, and that become uncompetitive. And so that's where I think we had our challenges.
The common thread in all your submission in terms of the challenges has been taxes. So I think that's an area that the incoming administration should really look at. But let's get on to your expectations now. What are you looking forward to in the president's final State of the Nation's address? Also in your capacity as Guta president, what are your expectations?
I think he's going to emphasize on the positives and then bring out the challenges that he faced. Essentially, this is all that is going to say, because otherwise, their term of office has ended. So they will bring out and highlight on the areas that they think they did well, and then also where they had their challenges, they are going to also tell. And then at the tail end of his administration, what the new finance minister has also done. I think, in all fairness, the new finance minister, if he had gotten the opportunity to manage the economy for a longer time, we would have seen a lot of differences. I think these are the areas that they are going to emphasize.
Dr. Obing, thank you so much. Dr. Obing is president for Guta and is helping us gauge our expectations and do an analysis of President Akufo-Addo's tenure in terms of trade. Edem Senanu, can you hear me now? Okay, we're trying to get great.
Yes,
we lost you there earlier. Thank you for your patience. So Edem Senanu is a member of the African Union Advisory Board on corruption, and he joins us to talk about corruption. Edem, I was telling you earlier, I don't know if you heard me, that this administration actually promised to fight corruption aggressively. How successful have they been? At the end of the term, how successful has this administration been in fighting corruption?
At the end of the term, they've not been as successful as the euphoria with which we started. And it is not to say that they did not make attempts. I think that the first term of the president, especially the first 2 years, a lot of effort was put in. And prior to 2016, many of us have talked about how the Attorney General is an unlikely candidate to take on board, as it were, taking members of government who are appointed to court when they are found to have engaged in acts against the state. And so this idea of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which even seemed difficult because the constitutional arrangements wouldn't make it easy. Yet they came to government, they passed the Law Act 959, they set up the office, made 2 very brilliant appointments. So you can see that in the first 4 years, a lot of effort went in, even in terms of the passage of the RTI. I was there when he mentioned to the Attorney General at the time that, you know what, let's fix a deadline by the end of the year, even though it's more than 200 pages. Let cabinet sit extra meetings just to get through it. And they did pass it after 19 years or so. So initially, you could see that there was that political will to go the full distance on the issues of corruption. But somehow, towards the end of the first term and into the second term, all of that appears to have pettered away.
What do you think happened there, Edem?
I suspect that cycle is a cycle that repeats itself with every government. When the first 4 years, the various issues that they have highlighted in their manifestos, they are seen to go in about it. But towards the end and into the second term, they begin to think about, we have to make money. We need to make sure we get back to government. This is not just about the policies. This is also about ourselves. And I think those are the red flags we need to watch out for, that any president appointed is likely to start out well. Start year 2, the political party and its leadership are likely to start bringing pressure on the president and distracting him and all those who are good intention from implementing the specific promises that they have made that would inure to the benefit of the collective.
Allegations of mismanagement of COVID-19 funds and other public resources surfaced over the past 8 years. What lessons can we draw from them in terms of even how the government managed those? Because it shaped the narrative around this government's fight against corruption. How well did they manage that bit, and what lessons are there that we can learn for the incoming administration?
I think that there are major lessons. it's important to realize that most of our corruption-related issues have been procurement-based, procurement-related. And initially, they had set up a special office to look at procurement issues, but I'm not quite sure whether that was manned by the caliber of people who could look at the documentation and draw the right conclusions. The lessons learned there, anytime we have these big-ticket expenditure issues, we need to be much more critical about the factors that lead to these procurements and then the processes that we follow as it were to execute. And clearly, COVID was one of those areas where everybody could see that with how things were going, the likelihood that there were going to be huge cases of procurement fraud going on. And it's not surprising that then the Auditor General and other people took a close look at it. The incoming government should therefore know that anytime we have big ticket procurement issues, the likelihood that there is going to be some people going on happening is very high. Therefore, ideally, you should be selecting individuals with the right kind of expertise, with the right kind of posture, who would make it difficult for the wrong things to be done, to be part of the process or to supervise and monitor what goes on. We need to be very intentional if we are not going to have a repeated cycle of these things happening when we have either, we don't want another pandemic, but any other such issues coming up, especially as it comes to procurement. Indeed, even in terms of appointing who should be at the Public Procurement Authority, what actions should be taken across the value chain. We need to be looking for individuals who have a track record of being no nonsense, making sure that they will protect the public purse on behalf of the citizens. I think those are some of the things that we should be looking at critically.
I'm curious to know what you think. Do you think the president should address unresolved corruption allegations in his speech? And would you be surprised if he did?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised because he probably, as he is exiting, is thinking about what is the legacy, what would citizens be remembering me for? And if there are any issues that he thinks that he was unfairly, accused of, he probably want to take those up and speak to them. I doubt that it would make much of a difference at this stage. I think that it probably would be better left for posterity, and maybe if we had other agencies of the state take up those issues, investigate them further, and then give feedback, that would be more effective.
And now I'm going to put you on the spot. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate President Akufo-Addo's administration in terms of the fight against corruption? On a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is the least and 10 is the highest.
Well, I have always run away from doing this.
Like you said, it wouldn't make any difference, However you rate them.
No, I certainly would not give them above a 5, probably a 4. I wouldn't say nothing was done. I think the OSP was substantive. There are a lot of milestones achieved there as a nation, including his appointments, including now we had government appointees being taken on board. I think that the passage of the RTI was very substantive to our fight. I'll give them a 4 over 10 overall, below average. I think we could have done much, much, much better in terms of the fight against corruption.
Are there any other things you're expecting to see or hear in the president's speech today, finally, before you go?
I think that the president ought to be passing on to the president-elect some of the key lessons. I think that it would lift up his statesmanship if you're able to say, in this space, when I over-trusted people or when I did not rotate my government, areas that would be substantive pointers to what we could do better as a nation. I think that would raise the level of credibility of his tenure and what he wanted to achieve. I think it's an opportunity he should not miss. Take a good look at himself, introspection, and say, look, these are things you could do better as I pass the baton on to you. That clearly would make a lot of difference in terms of how we assess him as he exits his tenure as the president of this nation.
In a related matter, please, before you go, do you think oral would help? How confident are you in oral?
I am very delighted at the concept of oral. You know, I mean, our data already shows that over 30% of Ghanaians are reticent to report corruption. And they tell you why. They say it's one, we fear retribution, there'll be a backlash. Two, we don't think that anything will happen. Now you have a group that is saying, listen, in relation to Article 41, your responsibilities, give us the information, we'll do the follow-up. The thing is, one additional feather, it is not a panacea by itself, but it adds to encouraging Ghanaians to know that we have a responsibility to protect the state, to protect any losses of funds. And so if in this transition period, any Ghanaian notices somebody trying to, you know, hide property, move assets, move money, they are more emboldened to report it. I also think that it's a facilitation. It's not going to replace, it's going to complement the existing agencies of state that have been set up to, as it were, investigate and prosecute corruption. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think that they just need to be cautious that they manage the information they receive very well. They don't begin to point fingers because people's reputations may be on the line, and you want to make sure you have sufficient evidence that suggests something really has gone wrong, because before you put it out there and mar people's reputations and tarnish their images. So I think that it is one of those additional things that is going to complement our fight against corruption.
Thank you so much, Edem Senanu. Edem Senanu is a member, African Union Advisory Board on Corruption, and he spoke on corruption in terms of an assessment of the President Akufo-Addo's tenure and expectations of today's SONA. Let's move now from corruption to security. And joining me via Zoom is Dr. Victor Doke. He's security analyst at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you. So let's start with an assessment.
Quickly, before you, let me just point this. I'm a lecturer
at
the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Thank you. So you're a lecturer, not a... But you are a security analyst, no?
Exactly. So the lecture comes first.
Okay. Thank you for that. Now, how would you assess Ghana's efforts in terms of how effectively this government has been in ensuring internal security and public safety for the 8 years of Akufo-Addo's tenure?
Thank you very much. Happy New Year to you and then cherished viewers.
Right.
I think for the 8-year period, one can confidently say, yes, the security apparatus, when you talk about the internal security, I'll start with that one first, the police service and other sister agencies, the Intelligence Bureau. You can talk about immigrations and then the customs division also. By and large, these institutions have somewhat enabled a smooth atmosphere when it comes to peace and security. Now, when you take police, for example, yes, there were challenges with regards to how their relationship with the civilians turned out to be, how they handled protesters, the arrests that were made, detaining people beyond the 48 hours, the backlash from civil society that they got, the internal bickering itself currently with regards to the police service. These are some of the challenges, but by and large, we can say we enjoyed some peace. We saw an enhanced police service and civil relationship led by the IGP, engaging more with civilians, state institutions, and then civil society, IB, churches, and relevant stakeholders. Now, when you talk about how they dealt with demonstrators, yes, they need to work on that with regards to how they de-escalate situations more than the forceful approach that they use, which came with a lot of backlash. So I think going forward, when you talk about how the next government is going to do, they need to address the ills, especially the internal bickerings, because you can have, internal bickerings, especially with regards to the police service, and then expect that your core mandate would shine out very effectively. It doesn't happen like that. So they deal with the internal bickerings or whatever has to do with hierarchy, whatever has to do with subordination, and then I'll come specific to that. They need to deal with that one first of all. Now, let's look at how the intelligence bureaus can also enhance their, intelligence apparatus. We need more intelligence, as it has shown for the past 8 years that most of the issues that we've had when it comes to even talk about the chieftaincy conflict, far away in Boko, the excesses that happen, the issues that happen that shouldn't have happened, all because there were lapses with regards to what intelligence gathering. I think these are areas that we need to build up on. So in mentioning these areas, and I think I've also enumerated the areas that for the past 8 years didn't go too well this administration. Now we talk about military, the civil-military relationship. We've had incidences, i.e. Ashama. To date, there hasn't been any concrete, things that have been done. These are challenges. These are areas that we need to work on. That incoming government needs to work on. Whether they appoint as the CDS, the COAS, and the chief of air staff, chief of naval staff, they need to come together and then see how to build the civil-military relationship, which is very essential for democracy in our today's dispensation. So these are the areas, key areas, I think, for the past 8 years that the current administration, sort of had major challenges with.
Right. The government also invested in equipping, in terms of modernization and infrastructure investments, and they will tell you that they invested in equipping the military with advanced hardware, vehicles, aircrafts, and all that. Police stations were refurbished, new ones were constructed. So in terms of military and police readiness, would you say that these efforts were sufficient enough to modernize and prepare forces for emerging threats?
In some way, yes. Now, by and large, when you talk about readiness of security services, it's not only the equipment and the refurbishment of their, whatever, the housing, edifices, and all of that. Those are just, sidelines. But by and large, on operational duties, you need equipment. You have to invest heavily on the intelligence aspect also. And that is our major challenge. Aside investing in the intelligence, you need to build capacity of our forces, which they need. How well have they come to grasp with the current dynamics of chieftaincy conflict, with fighting criminals, with gathering intelligence, and even building the capacity? How well have they come to grasp with knowing how to handle issues with regards to chieftaincy conflicts, demonstrations, and all of that. These are areas that, for me, in my personal opinion, there was not enough investment with regards to those particular areas. Yes, we have our forces going out for peacekeeping and all of that elsewhere, but that is just one aspect of it. Internally, what are we doing as a country by and large? We need to invest heavily in that area. Operational duties are there, yes. You buy equipment, they need vehicles and all of that. It is very good, but that alone doesn't add up to the whole spectrum of when you talk about security and intelligence, and then how you can say, yes, your forces are ready.
But they didn't meet any need at all, Doc.
Come again?
They didn't meet some needs. These refurbishments, these infrastructure, equipment and all that, they did meet some need, although it's not everything that you need to do in terms of readiness and preparedness. They did meet some needs.
Yes. What met the needs? I'll talk about the equipment, because you need equipment to work with. Now, for example, if you don't have equipment, you can't talk to me here right now.
Yeah.
They need equipment, the ammunitions, the vehicles, the gadgets, and all of that. Those are part of the equipment. And let's not forget the import of the new system with the body cameras and all of that. Those are areas that we need to invest more. Yes, what the government did met needs. Now, when you see the personnel around, engaging in visibility and all of that, you can see that, yes, it's been revamped. It's not like before. So year in and year out, there's been new additions. But what I'm saying is, apart from that aspect, we need to look at more, essentials of it. And then when you add those things, it becomes more robust.
Okay. Now, given the instability in neighboring countries, how would you rate Ghana's performance in terms of managing border security under this administration? So far, I think it's safe to say that none of the conflicts in our neighboring, countries trickled down into the country proper. How well did we manage that?
Well, it's one, I think it borders on the resilience of the Ghanaian people, right? How resilient we have been. That's one thing I would say. Apart from the security aspect, deployment, in our border areas, and then having somewhat good relations with our neighbors, it all borders to the resilience of the Ghanaian people. We have learned lessons from all those countries bordering us who have had issues with what internal politics, developing or evolving into what violent conflicts. They have issues with terrorism, violent extremism, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So all these has informed the Ghanaian populace that we don't need to be in that aspect, okay? We don't need to engage in violent activities because the mantra is we don't have anywhere to go. But by and large, I think the security services has picked up a lot of what positives with regards to how they man the borders, cooperation with other sister agencies in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
The cross and then the inter-relations, sharing of intelligence has also added and helped for our security services to know how to man our territorial waters, to avoid and curb issues of extremism and all of that. Now, yes, countries may have their own internal problems, but by and large, our diplomatic efforts and engagements, preventive diplomacy, has ensured that we have not engaged in any kind of illegalities or ills that would have permitted other countries to point fingers at us, because that wouldn't be good for our international reputation either. So I think, we have done work in that aspect. I'm expecting that the incoming government will even build more on what the outgoing government has done.
Doc, we can't discuss security without talking about cybersecurity. In this day and age, it is a fourth industrial revolution after all. And what would be your assessment on that as well, in terms of how effective the government has put in measures to prevent cybercrime and protect national infrastructure?
Yeah, so I think this area is an evolving area, I would say. So what I've seen is there's much talk about it. There's much also being done about it. But yet again, I'll go back to the investment aspect in cybersecurity space. Now, we're going to deal with a lot of issues with cybersecurity going forward, especially targeting state institutions, essential state institutions that have very, very vital information. How do we protect all of these things? So I think it all boils down to how investment in the cybersecurity space, equipping the cybersecurity units, the Ghana Police Service, the military, and other key security institutions, and how they build their capacity to come to terms. The current dynamics of cybersecurity is changing. So how do we deal with all these things? The investment that has been done for the past years is very good. We've had a lot of private partnerships. We have a lot of civil society also coming in, joining hands with the government in the fight against the threats on our cyberspace. So I think going forward, we need to engage more with the private sector, the civil society in those spaces. And I think we'll learn new things. Aside that, we need to also try as much as possible, collaborate and coordinate with other units elsewhere in the West African sub-region.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we do that, by and large, the information flow with regards to threats and all that will be enhanced. And then we'll be on top of our game. We'll be more proactive than reactive if we put all these things in place.
Right. And finally, in terms of insight into what should be or the president will be saying in a few hours, what key updates on national security are you looking for? Are you looking forward to?
Number one, what has been on my heart so far, so long, the Boko conflict. I'm expecting him to give, very essential updates to what has been done and what he expects the incoming government, or a personal plea from him to the next president to look at regards to the Boko conflict, because this conflict has to be brought to finality, honestly speaking.
Yeah.
Number two, I'm expecting him to touch a little bit on, yes, the successes with regards to the election before, during. We've had pockets of violence post-elections, which was not too good, but then I'm expecting to commend entirely the security forces on their roles with regards to ensuring that we had a very peaceful election by and large. And then I'm expecting to touch on the fact that we haven't had any sort of attacks by extremists, because we've been able to be a little bit proactive and then engage more with neighboring countries and sharing intelligence and all of that. And then internally, by and large, I'm expecting him to sort of like call plea to the populace that the support needed with regards to the incoming administration, intelligence sharing, and then also ensuring that the citizens adhere to the rule of law, because if they don't, you will have issues. So these are the key areas that I expect the president to touch on or mention.
Thank you so much, Dr. Victor Doke. He's a lecturer at Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center and a security analyst. And we are doing an assessment and analysis of the President Akufo-Addo's tenure and ahead of his final State of the Nation's address today. I think the last on my list this morning is for governance, and we'll be speaking to Dr. Machi Boateng shortly. And we also take you to Parliament in a bit because there's a lot happening. You know that the President will be delivering his speech there, and then Parliament will be wrapping up, so to speak, on the 9th Parliament. The 8th and the 9th Parliament, they're all going to be there today. I don't know if I have Dr. Machi Boateng with me yet. Do I have Dr. Machi Boateng? Okay. Now, while we wait and connect with Doc, you are also invited to connect with us and share your expectations ahead of the final SONA for today. It is the last time the President Akufo-Addo will be addressing the nation, giving us updates on the affairs of the state. And so we want to know what's on your mind. What are your expectations? If you still want to do an assessment of his tenure as he's exiting in a few days, you're welcome. Go to our social media platforms. We are Joy News on TV across all social media platforms and join the conversation. It is about you after all. Like I like to say, the successes of every country is depending on the, how we walk that fine line between leadership and citizenship, right? Okay. Now, let me take you live to Parliament. We cannot connect with Dr. Machi Boateng, but we'll do that subsequently. But let me take you straight to Parliament and let's see how preparations are underway ahead of that address today. I believe Kweku Asante is in Parliament. Kweku Asante, what can you report?
Close to 7 years.
Hello.
Live in Parliament, we know that preparations are underway. What's happening as we speak?
The President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is expected to come here and deliver his last message on the state of the nation. He is supposed to account for his stewardship over the last 8 years. President Akufo-Addo was elected president on the 7th of December 2016. He was sworn in on the 7th of January 2017. And so he's been in office close to 8 years now. In fact, next week will be his 8th year as president, next Tuesday. And that will be the same day that John Dramani Mahama, the incoming president, will be sworn in to take over the reins of government as the president of the republic. And so the president is expected to come in here today, account for his stewardship, show what he has done in the last 8 years that the Ghanaian people gave him the mandate to rule. And so what we expect today is that the president will largely touch on his legacy, the key things he has done, what he has focused on as his priority, for which reason he believes he has delivered on the mandate that the Ghanaian people gave to him 8 years ago. And we expect, obviously, the political banter of a sort between the NDC and the NPP, who are really dead set in terms of the politics, with the NDC side claiming that the president has not delivered on the mandate, he has not lived up to expectation. They say that all the president has done is to impose more and more taxes, and that his administration has not chalked so much success. But on the NPP side, you hear a lot about the free SHS, you hear a lot about all the other things they believe that the president has done, for which reason they think he has delivered on his mandate. Free SHS is going to be a big deal today in the president's address when he takes his seat. And you can see on the days a number of the chairs having been arranged already, that of the vice president, the speaker of parliament, the president himself, and then the chief justice, who will also take that black seat over there. Members of parliament, I've seen a number of them around already, a number of them in their offices. I understand this morning there will be caucus meetings, Senate meetings to try and flesh out
their caucus positions before they come to Parliament and take their chairs for the president to do so. Ordinarily, the expectation is that this address will commence at 10 o'clock a.m. But if recent history is anything to go by, things may delay a little bit, but we can't tell for now. A lot of more dignitaries are coming, the members of the diplomatic corps, as you can see on my right-hand side, a lot of them seated to listen to the Ghanaian president to deliver on the message on the State of the Nation address, to tell a story in terms of what exactly he has done in the last 8 years that Ghanaians gave him the mandate. We should, of course, all of us know that in the last 1 month, the Ghanaian people went to polls and overwhelmingly elected the NDC, with John Dramani Mahama coming in as president to come and serve his second term, and the Ghanaian people also gave the NDC an overwhelming majority. As the current count stands, the NDC has 182 seats, with a number of other seats also in courts where legal disputes are being dealt with over and over again. And so there are real issues, there are very important issues that the Ghanaian people will be hoping to hear from the president in terms of what he has done in the last 8 years, whether he has delivered his mandate or not. You will recall in 2016, John Dramani Mahama was here. He talked about what he had done and talked about posterity judging him for whether or not he delivered on his mandate. And 8 years on, he is expected to come here again, but preparing to be sworn in as the next president. If the arrangements that we've seen in the past is anything to go by, I'm sure the former president will be in the other side, where he will take his seat and listen to the incumbent president deliver on the message on the State of the Nation before he will come in. And when he is sworn in also, if you look at the arrangement that we've seen in the past, he is also expected to come and deliver a message on the State of the Nation in terms of what exactly he has been able to see from the books that have been handed over to him. So that is the state of play here. A lot more dignitaries arriving. There's not a single member of parliament currently seated in the chamber, but we expect that a lot more of them will come in after 9 o'clock, for the expectation that at 10 o'clock, the president will deliver his message on the State of the Nation to account for his stewardship over the last 8 years.
Correspondent live from Parliament, bringing us up to speed in terms of preparations and what to expect. Now, it's important that we are speaking to all these stakeholders, gauging the expectations, because it looks like every time the president addresses the nation, people have their own expectations that are not met. In fact, last year, I remember that NDC were, they were upset that the president was silent on the flood victims in his 2024 SONA, which was around this time last year, or February, I think. But let's move on now. Let's move the conversation forward now. Let's speak to Dr. Amachi Boateng. He's a political scientist at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and he is going to help us put in perspective what governance has been under President Akufo-Addo's administration. Doc, good morning. Happy New Year.
Good morning and many happy returns.
Great. So we are talking about the performance of President Akufo-Addo and his administration in terms of governance. How would you rate their performance in terms of their commitment to strengthening our democratic institutions and upholding good governance principles over the past 8 years?
Well, actually, this is a major issue that you can't, a few moments relate to properly. But then we have clear indicators that can help us talk about this issue. The issue of strengthening democracy borders on several factors. The essence is to ensure the liberty of the individual, to enable him or her go about, their businesses in an environment that is free from avoidable hindrances. The personal security is key. And then there are key democratic institutions of governance, and you want to see what has happened to them. As much as possible, you want to rely on a study and come out with the outcome of these studies, actually. But in the absence of that, I'm just going to rely on informed opinion. You want to say that as much as possible, the Parliament has, seen its ups and downs. Generally speaking, they've come to the 8th Parliament. Yeah. It's come to the end. One thing that we recall is that although the MPP didn't have an absolute majority, the slim majority they had was put to great use. But then, whose interest was served? One key issue that, this my understanding has got to do with the legislation that passed, which enabled people to mine in our forest. It never crossed my mind at the time that it was, worked on, until later the issue of Galamsey came up so much. Over there, obviously, as we look at it now, you wouldn't want to, score Parliament, high marks. Another aspect has got to do with, one, the borrowing that we did, and then two, the policies were good, but exactly how we went about implementing the policies. The oversight responsibility of Parliament comes in here. Once again, when you look at the outcome, and I like to pick one particular area, agriculture, I have great difficulties coming to terms with the fact that a country like Ghana, given our economic difficulties, continue to import tomatoes from Burkina Faso. I just don't understand. This is something that can be done. We didn't do it. We import onions, we import rice, we import maize. This morning, reviewing some of these issues, I told myself that Ghana is a lazy state. So, governance at that level, you can't blame it on the political executive. It's purely the Parliament itself, the legislature. And over here, you zero into those who came up in taking the major decisions that were taken.
Right.
And because of that, okay.
No, you finished that thought for me.
Yeah, because of that, we saw the verdict that came out from Ghanaians, in the last elections. So they are, if you like, the best judges. It involved all of us Ghanaians. And the overwhelming sort of support given the NDC, the party that was in opposition, the mandate given them is an indicative, to the best of my understanding, of people's, if you like, disappointment about the work of the majority in the 8th Parliament, the New Patriotic Party's members of Parliament.
Right. Doc, I still want to stay on democratic accountability. You yourself have said, and many critics will agree with you or argue, that several flagship programs lacked effective implementation and monitoring. Now, what government lapses do you think contributed to these challenges? Was it a lack of political will across all the sectors and, in fact, every challenge that we saw? What's your explanation there?
If you look at this, you want to pay particular attention to the Constitution. And who is empowered by the Constitution to do what. Then we can zero in and pat people on the back or apportion blame. The Constitution of the Fourth Republic of Ghana really empowers the political executive, he who sits or she who sits at the office of the president. The occupant is empowered so much so that Professor Kwasi Prempeh, for example, in a document refers to that officer as a hegemonic president.
Yeah.
The implication is that the occupant is supposed to use that awesome political power to bring development to the country speedily. He's allowed to do almost everything. And so, looking at the issue of implementation of flagship programs, the buck stops with him. You see, the Constitution of the Fourth Republic of Ghana anticipates a president who has
what is captured somewhere in the literature as, I'm quoting, a political scientist who has an overwhelming sort of support for the public good. He or she sees the need to bring development speedily to alleviate the hardships of Ghanaians. And so such a person is so empowered. It is through the appointing powers. So that if, for example, the Minister of Agriculture is not delivering, and you know the budget that has been given that particular ministry in a year, if you don't see signs, because many of the, staple food items don't go through 1 year before you can harvest them.
Right.
So you don't need a long time to be able to assess the agricultural ministry as to what is happening there, given the budget, given the particular ministry. If you don't do that, then you, the president, are complicit. You appointed someone who might be an academic or an intellectual, but simply lacks practical wisdom to help implement policies properly to achieve stated goals, objectives. So that is it. In all of these, the buck stops with the president. This particular president, Ronaldo, put in place a structure to monitor, evaluate, his ministers. And initially we thought that was, excellent. It gave us an indication that he meant business.
Right.
But then what happened? It was just a mechanism to create jobs for party members. The size of the government amounted to nothing. It added to the waste, of public resources. So in all of this, actually, it is the president who demonstrated ineptitude in office.
Doc, you said, well, let me not repeat that. I think that you're the expert, so I stand corrected. Decentralization then becomes a long-standing goal for governance. How successful has this administration been in empowering local governments, and ensuring equitable resource distribution?
We anticipated that given the call for MCs, DCs to be elected, it came up earlier on. They tried to do something about it, but added something that was offensive, and Ghanaians simply were not interested in that. In the light of that, you expected that, the municipal districts areas should be empowered to be independent, work out their own budgets, and then, carry out the development projects these deemed fit in their localities. We didn't see that. And to the extent that we didn't see that, obviously, decentralization, as previously, has only been in name. To the extent that the central government takes decisions which get implemented in the localities. Effectively, we don't have decentralization in place. We just don't. So it's still in name.
What lessons then do you think the incoming administration can learn from the failure of this government to actually decentralize governance?
In the area of decentralization, I think one thing that the incoming government can do is to give a gift to Ghanaians, by allowing these people to be elected not on party lines, allowing the officers in the municipalities, the districts, to be elected not on party lines, so that individuals can go out there, put themselves out, and if they are able to endear themselves properly to the constituents, they get elected. I think generally in life, we should be learning from our mistakes. And that is one thing that gives me some assurance that possibly we are in for, something good. And especially so given where the president-elect John Dramani Mahama is coming from, his personal experience, gone through all the structures of governance up to where he is now, has had the opportunity to be in government as the president, voted out, you stay, on the sidelines, watch events, review your own self, and then you get the opportunity to come back the way things have happened. I mean, it's not going to happen to any Ghanaian for a long time to come. We can't miss this opportunity. So I think we are in an opportune time to do well.
Okay. So finally, before I get to your expectations, in terms of public trust and transparency, we all know that the recent Afrobarometer report says most Ghanaians have lost trust in public institutions. How well would you say that this outgoing administration performed in terms of building or rebuilding trust in these public institutions?
You see, there are some institutions of states that should not be touched, whose independence should be, made to work, strengthened, made to be autonomous and objective so that they can serve society well. And one of them is the judiciary. The judiciary really provides such unique services to society, such that they really underpin everything. And if they function well, they ensure the stability of several institutions, because it's the last place where justice is dispensed. So you don't touch it. Even when you have the opportunity to behave in a particular way, you restrain yourself as a president, and you don't abuse that opportunity. But this time around, unfortunately, we saw a conscious effort on the part of Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo to pack the judiciary. The institution has become politicized. Before then, and even before the work of Anas, realized that Ghanaians have issues with the judiciary. The understanding is that you want to see efforts made by this institution to fight back and redeem its image. So if generally at the institutional level, people have challenges with the institution, you don't, as an individual, the president, add to it and make the situation worse by packing it, sending non-active party activists there. You don't do that. That is not institution building. That is institution destruction, consciously destroying our institutions. At times, you really can't understand what the things, the developments Ghanaians have had to go through. And MPP, as a political party, didn't see anything wrong with that.
Doc, let me interject at this point and ask you then to rate the performance of this administration. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate their performance? In terms of governance and democracy, yes. How would you rate it? Oh my God.
I teach at the university. I've been marking scripts and grading students.
So I want you to mark them.
Seriously, I have great difficulty marking this gap. I have great difficulty because you can't score. You can't
Nothing
score
at all to score, Doug? Nothing at all?
You see, almost everything was a facade. Almost everything, including the free SHS. They didn't mean it. That is why the graduates didn't vote for Dr. Baumia. I was telling somebody that I've been a PTA chair recently in one of the high schools, first category A schools in Kumasi. And so we have had to work with the school's administration to get things going. There was a time when they were writing exams, WASI exams, and students didn't have tables. They used 2 chairs. I'm saying this because it happened. I was there. I saw it. They don't, as we speak, they don't have tables. As we speak, you go to some schools, you find a way to engage the administration. You visit them in the evenings when students are supposed to be studying. The classrooms are there. There are no tables, there are no chairs as we speak. Here in Kumasi. So what can we say about schools in so many places? And this is a flagship program. How can you score this government?
Doc, you're a lecturer. It should be difficult for those of us who don't teach. But you have some metrics you can use. Beyond zero.
Yes.
Wow.
Because with governance, we deal with the life of Ghanaians. Why did we allow Galamsey to attain the level that it attained? Why? How can we do that to ourselves? Our forefathers so many years ago had reasons to preserve the forest. And today, those of us refer to ourselves as, living in an enlightened period. And this is what we are doing.
All right. Doctor,
and you want us to score this government. You go below zero.
Time is not on our side. So my final question to you would be, what governance-related achievements or gaps are you expecting? Or should the president highlight today in his speech in a few hours?
Well, I think that the president has already been talking, has been engaging us. And already you see the experience coming to show. He's not creating the impression that he has all the answers to Ghana's challenges. So on those controversial issues, he has already suggested that he will go in for a stakeholder consultation so that at the end of the day, the policies are owned by all of us. The problem will be the implementation, whether he will allow us, the whole society, to also own the implementation so that people can, in a way, become monitors of the those who will be working in the name of the president, the ministers, the DCs, and so on and so forth. You see, generally, it is the posture of the politicians that affect the public administration, the technocrats, and then the public servants. It's the posture of the politicians that affect them. Their readiness to implement policies wholeheartedly to achieve the desired outcome all happen to be a function of the posture of the politicians. So I think that is where the president will want to pay attention to.
Right.
The people he's going to appoint and how he will be engaging them. If he does it and gets it right, to let people know that, look, he himself is not going to shield any, anyone who engages in any malfeasance, then definitely he will be empowering society to also go out there and behave in a patriotic fashion.
Thank you so much. Okay. I'll give you some few seconds to wrap up for me, please.
No, it's okay. I was going to say that is exactly what we're looking forward to see.
Okay.
From the new incoming government.
All right. Thank you so much. That is Dr. Amachi Boateng. He's a political scientist and a lecturer at Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. And that brings us to the end of the conversations this morning in terms of assessing the outgoing administration and expectations for today's State of the Nation's address, which is slated for 10 a.m. Of course, you want to stay with us on Joy News because we'll bring you every detail as it unfolds. Now, I want to take you back to Kantamanto because, of course, the fire has been put out, but the issues are coming out. Some people have lost money, and scrap dealers seem to be having a field day over there because, things are bent to scrap, so they will put it to some use. But we'll take a quick break, though. When we return, we'll take you back to Kantamanto for live updates and how people are faring day after that fire ravaged some stores at that market. I'll be right back. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, this is the Friday edition of the AM show. There's still a lot coming your way. I was telling you that we'll take you back to Kantamanto because reactions are pouring in, stories are emerging. The Ghana National Fire Service has suggested that an electrical fault or arson is a possible cause of that fire that ravaged Kantamanto markets yesterday, Thursday, January 2nd, 2025. And I want to take you back there. My colleague Collins Frimpong is standing by and is interacting with some residents over there. Let's go to him and hear what they have to say.
After fire raked Kantamanto market, traders have begun arranging the place or mobilizing the place to set up their own structures and also get back to work or get some life. It's a sad situation, it's a sad scene here this morning, and many of them have been telling us that they are doing everything that they could in order to come back, get their life back, begin trading so that they can pay back even all the loans that they have been able to secure so that won't become an issue for them. But they are still pleading with government to come to their aid. But before, I won't take the words out of their own hands. I have some of the leaders here that we want to engage this morning to find out what they are doing and even the impact of the fire that wrecked the Kantamanto market. Good morning, Daddy. Please, Udin the saying, what's your name?
Samuel Amwa. I'm the chairman for the Kantamanto Traders Association.
Mr. Amwa, first of all, what is the impact after the assessment, the initial assessments? How was the impact?
Very sad. Very, very, very sad. Because people have lost their hopes. Everyone here have lost his hope. The only hope that we want is to get back to this. So all that we want is we will be allowed to come back peacefully. And that is why we see we are trying to clear the debris and start business tomorrow. Thereafter, we see to bring our shares back so that normally it have happened. We cannot fight over split milk. It have happened. My only appeal is to the current government, the incoming government, to come together to help us. We are Ghanaians. There is no politics. There is a human factor here, and we want the two sides, the NDC and the MPP, to come together to help us. We know they can help us because what happened 12 years ago, the NDC helped us, and I know Julius Zebra. Julius, this is your big brother. You did help us. You are coming. The MPP have 2 days to go, but still they can do something to help. After all, they are friends. The president, he said it, that he have known the current president since 1997. They have been friends since they went on to Parliament. So I know the two can come together to help us. That is all that we need. We are pretty, they help us get back peacefully. That's all.
Just 24 hours, if we ourselves, we could see that some of the shops, they have some fires or smokes coming out of it. So it means that the fire is not completely off. Is it not risky for your members to be going around trying to collect all the debris and start building structures?
Yes, you can see there some smoke, especially where the fire started. And so those places that have metals, there's still smoke there. But it is coming down gradually. So we hope to use our own plan to demolish the fire, to quench the fire for all. I'm sure by the close of the day, every fire here will be quenched. So that, as you see, they've started clearing the place. And thanks, all foundation to have helped us. And all foundation to have provided us with tipper trucks. And they are cutting the debris away for us. And we hope that, as I said earlier, the government and the incoming government must come out together to help us. That's all.
But won't it be an ideal for the government or for authorities to come and clear the place and start doing something for you rather than trying to occupy the place just 24 hours?
We see, we don't want bureaucracy setting. And we know what happens at certain places. We are a living experience. I've been chairman for here for 32 years. When I came to God Ben 12 years ago, the NDC helped us, but we help ourselves too, and that's why we are doing that. We know the government, the MPP or the NDC or whatever will be in power will help us. But we want to help because the saying is helping help those who help themselves. So we are helping ourselves, and we don't expect. We know the economy cannot cater for everything. The last time it happened, the NDC gave everybody 300 Ghana cedis a gift, and there was a mass law give us a loan, and we know it. We are looking for it. We are not saying if they can come up to say, okay, we will help you build the share, or even the cost of the share we are going to take up. We say we are not going to reject it, but we simply want to help ourselves before the government coming.
Last one, before you take leave of us, so far, do you know the number of people that were affected, the number of shops that were burnt, and if there were any casualties that were recorded, if somebody was hurt, somebody passed away or something?
I know somebody died. From where the fire started, he was sleeping on top of some of the bills. So before he realized that there was a fire, he fall from the, and he was rushed to Kolebu, but I was made to understand that he just passed on.
He was rushed to which hospital?
He was rushed to Kolebu, but yes, I know, yes, and that is the casualty, the only casualty that I know of. When we talk about people that have lost their goods, where we were standing now, there are over 2,000 shares here, and you know there are about 7,000 shares were lost to the fire. It's over 7,000 shares. But I can give you the figures. In Kathmandu, close, they have over 2,000. We have over 2,500. The railway platform, the Kumi and Co. Everything. You know the Boss Brothers 1 and 2. So they have over 7,000 shares. And when we want to calculate the numbers, using some shares have 2 or 3 people. So when you want to do that, we are over 20 to 30,000 people have lost their daily bread. Yes, because some shares, you see 5 people there for one shed, and they are affected. Yes.
Apart from the financial assistance, are there any measures that you think the government or the authorities should implement should this structure come back to life?
We want the government to help us to sack everybody from here because people were sleeping here. If people were not sleeping here, even though fire, we know people were places where people were not sleeping, but fire just started, Makola, people were not sleeping there, but fire. But here, you look at some, it was a, I don't want to spare, if you listen to them very well, it looks as if fire were, some things were placed at advantages were just, what the whole, it started from here, and every, it was burning. And it looked as if we were a trick. You know why I'm saying that? But when the fire started outside the market, just in front of the market, so people who were sleeping here rushed from here to quench the fire. Before they come back, the whole place was in flame. So that is why I make them think that it was a planting.
So is there any suspicion? That are there people that we are suspecting?
I don't want to speculate, but this is what I heard. Chairman, we were outside quenching the fire before I realized there was another outbreak here. Yes.
Sorry about that. So all that he said, as he mentioned, over 30,000 people have been affected here, and also over 2,000 to 7,000 shops also were destroyed yesterday. And the sad part is that he can confirm that one person lost his life. He was sleeping on top of one of the shelves when the fire was setting, and the moment he tried to get down and get out of the shop, he couldn't gain access to go out. He couldn't get access to the exit routes. So he was being locked inside and got burnt. He was taken to Kolebu Hospital yesterday, but the information he has received is that he has passed away, and they are having about 14 casualties, people that they have suffered various injuries. That's the numbers that we are being given according to the chairman of the Traders Association there. But currently, as you can see, there is a big truck there that is collecting the debris, and also the traders are also trying to arrange the place, collecting all the debris, arranging the place, and trying to put up structures to get their life back again. So that's it. The fire outbreak just happened 24 hours ago, barely 24 hours ago, and the fire service have been able to put off the fire, even though there are little smokes, few smokes coming out of some of the containers there. But this is the situation here. We want to speak to more of traders here. Mommy, good morning.
Morning.
Please, what's your name? But you doing this thing?
Ophelia Preku.
And up minim say nya boko ne momentum to
bet enya boko ye ne bresampa na ye wom. You say ye nka bi shemu ye ni mo hwe awurade ama afepa to yen. Sa abrenke ye de anije na ebetena ase. Na ye behie ani. Ne ye beti ne nra no pa ne say eja no hye ase wa animu ha kakra bi. Ha boys container boys bebre da ha. Nti omo di mirika be so me sen ko mbebo adumgya no. De omo gina ho na omo adumgya de omo hu yan so omo chinyina hye gya na se ti ntimi hu kwan ye nam so asa ato kire nchem ya ato yen. Nti ye sra ban a wo kọ ye sra de wo ba Say yenina yentina oko yenina yentina on your banso ba. Nse mmoa bi omo na mmom sesia no ba bia ye betena na ye benya no aduane ntino ye be yeguso ayesiesie nti enu achi no mmoa bi wo aban de bedom yen a onfa medom yen
na de nsiesie no kamo ntwen na aban ne mpani
da bi nsiesie ndi ahunu bi painti yempe bio yempe 12 years ni eduru ba bi se fe ye bege ho na aban abaya ama yen e beche ese ndeme da ya ma na no pa mi gina hai nti yenye ba bi nti ye tena so na saba wa mo bi o de bebo aye se wia wom ensuo to bebo ye ye ni ba bi de niam no kra begu nti aban bebe mu a kwan bia so eso obo aye nti de ho na bebo aye ye de obeba no bebo aye ye ho ye twen no na mmom ye tena so ye siesie de ye betimi atena so na ye twen wo mo de om de bebo aye bia ye ho
that's it. So she is saying that they are here because of what has happened before. They don't want to wait for government or authority to come here and say that they are going to build stores or build structures for them. They are taking their own initiative, build up the structures, get back their lives. So that's it. And they are pleading with government to come to their aid. Any form of support that the government can provide, they are expecting government and authorities to assist them with. But with regards to after the 24 hours, the fire rigged the place and they have come back to life. They won't wait on government to do anything. They are not waiting on any authority. They've taken the matter into their own hands, building the stores. And we have more people here that want to speak. Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I know things are hard, but how are things going this morning for you?
Oh, never the enkoyi. Your family kopi poku. And never enkoyi. We have 32, 33 years in it. But no crowd when they say you who be paying. I have seen 12 years in it. All my call first house no ne castle me can be near koye. You graduate that ran a boy. Am I eating good because a more boy and say if you know your child imagine say and car yem free as any graduate that ran the Vincio Vetoto. Into say yena bibika crade ekataya swa. That's in Shota Kranas will be a free near ma. Over any cranka crade at your school fees. Yeah, because I'm 65 years. 65, 66 years in medical school, nursing training, any secondary school, university. Aha na me de bisika nyina aboa me ma no. Say me nema nyina ahye. Enkransi medical school. Abeda na ye 20 years na ba na all connect the over and say, "Ommo aye." Na ye twimra na ewura mu a, ye benya bi kakra dia support enkura no. Okotema haba. Obroni wa we yi ne honum no onpa omunko check statistics don here sika e na free broni wa mu the unemployment worker ye cheapest ye obi atim ye bi ni broni wa ukuta 50 cities with start your business say ankura na ekọ university awunya adwuma nyina no onba ye adwuma de ko online atonya tia school fees say see how much you free ha say ye no ye dey enti esrava and say ye ntwen said the sheet 12 years in no am make us on buba amaye ensi na ensi china yesra income ni the all con say ya pa omu chew ye ni anka se ba bubo ya de no be free uni ama kakra obetra mu de atobi bia ma ma di said ye yanwu enti yesra wo omu say see a best chance have an obama and de and the pa omu chew
anu ntina na no pay after 24 hours maba ma start e hihye mu anka samoniama
pepe because you hunu be paying Makwa number 2 see and chance that so who be seen there one of the biggest markets market in West Africa Kantamanto. The biggest market ever in West Africa Kantamanto. And yesra mu empanifo wo tie never have a tade o man team at the brew mu ofie o mo man nyina hye bi enya ade a savia bokro no sabe sabra cho na ade a ye bibia enya wa ha sei ye nya scam wa ha sei ye digwa eno na ma start dia ha mere ne me manyina besi sabri edi sabri ya manya ba adwuma ya me 56 years me as gracia ne de hene yanse ne to aba mo ye campaign mo mti esra mo se o mo aye enya sika enya he beta me metenam ne mo ba searches ne betenam ani that's why dey e wo ho de wo wo no aye dey wa say ye betie ho no mo a 12 years in nipa wu ye kofie ko wu ye no they are almost more than 50 ayira ho ku mo nyina enti esaba ne say the oba ene the oko say obi no shashia yen traders association say aban mo aye ne amo ya ade yam pene mo bi anka say obesi shopping mall ano baby bi ansa na ye ne abe ho so ye po mo chew omo mo aye ne bebo ya ade let's go through ne ma through na ade atrema ne kakra de ahoma yes
thank you. So he has been selling here for more than 32 years, 32 solid years that he has been here selling second-hand clothing. If you recall, Kantamanto Market is the largest resale clothing market in West Africa, one of the largest across the world. And many people troop in this place to come and buy. Then they come and buy them in wholesale and also in small quantities. So they are pleading with government to come to their aid. According to him, when it happened in 2013, government supported them. They are not expecting anything different. They don't want new shops. They don't want anything. All that they are pleading is that they want government to support them and also build the structures themselves. They don't want any NGO. They don't want anyone to come here and come and build a structure. So all that's what that he said. And the consequences, the effect, the impact, the ripple impact of this whole thing, the situation is dire on them. So they are pleading with government to come to their aid. Let's speak to more of the traders here. Mampacho, good morning. I don't know what to say. Meaning say situation and I said the koso ya dear. Na anopai say by this senka utimi ejuwa home nanka wo hwede aban betima ayaboa mo nanso so no wo begina se ne mfuturu elbow ye den ne age ahome ye den ne age ahome ema esu ememe esu mo hwe ne ato ye Ghana man ehe ne ye fa ene wo mame wo bi kro ma wo papa wo bi amo aha ne yedidi ye dware ye sranyinsa aha na hwa mobrohunfo won eni kunu won a wo mewu won papa ne mawu kaya yofuo eyifo obi a oni bi aha ne yedidi adan na mo ye yesa ti yesra ban on the hand home bobo ama ye bobo ya ade ye mfiri ha so ye mfiri ha ne ye mfiri ho kire ya wa da bia ya wa ye niam ase no ye si ye di akira ye bewu ebi 30 base 40 base 50 base enya nsam kito mi amitra me niam 30 base enya agro ye si di abreho a ye bewu nti ye hu nti ye gira ha ye da ha sa akopem anado ene ye befe da bia ya wa ha akopem tama ye behu say ya jai ha ma ye nko ba bia. She is also re-emphasizing on the fact that they are not going to leave this place. They are going to be here. Whatever that it will take for them to build their own structures back, they are going to do that. But they do not expect anyone to also come here and say that they are going to build shops. But they are going to build the structures themselves. And if there is anything, government should come and support them to do that, but not building malls or building anything. The impact, many people have been working here. Thousands of people are working here. And when they build their shops, they won't get money to afford that. But more people are here that we want to speak to. Here is Kantamanto Market. Yesterday, fire raised this particular shop. Over 7,000 shops have been destroyed, affecting over 30,000 people. And also, according to the chairman of the Traders Association, a life has been lost and over 14 people have been hospitalized. Good morning.
Oh, you know what I say? Every day the Monday, Kantamanto ani etete me. Ana mi sister me wo famu nyina ye dey. E wo bad yes wi. But kakre betimi so aka e dey atre abamu mpanimfo ene etiti wo mo Ghana ha no. Say fine. Enye asi na emom de etete ene ne enam esu ase ene ne ye bi aso no ye gidi say enye sa nete. But I say na pamo ho. Aha pamo because your baby a more ye di modwa. And I Ghana for no so no your baby a ye to ya de ne baby ye di edwa. Because more ebi Ghana ha bebre but okwa abusa ho se ni bado do se ni gumo ho. But Kantamanto ani pa achi wo mo ni ni paketoa. So what I see because we go pressure we for long shot to see na hwe megu a metima ka cho say about the 50% ne bi omu okunu 85 ni nyina ni kunu Kantamanto na etete wo mo beto mu kura nkola 2 ne 3 but e bia mo wan say bia mo besi amo acha mani pa mo emwa because for osu niema ne nton wo mo omu because an e di adwa wo table so aha no kura hende Ghana na di ura kanta ha utimi de ball bra what I say utimi de ball bra so say ne ete no but the past 12 years the same thing is see. Well, no, 12 years the same thing. In the year 2013, one when you attend 205 on 2025 so the same thing I day as I say but baby I say Kantamanto nyina duru no one no wa pa me to ho I obi ntimi ntu obi enfiri ha say because ni padum egu ase no se ba say bia ben e bia da pena mu se bia e besi mo ya the company ya the ama obi company mi be gina be che ho a ya kotena fie wan ya na wan be feed obi
and mo suspect say bi ena hye bi ase omo pese omo de ase
oh fine ya Ghana for na ya see nso de obeduru no ebi no fine ya mfa nka asem bete beduru no ebi no so na akwaya asem so na ye tie no because ye bia ya so ye tie asem so se na ye tie no fine ye betima asi but ye ntimi nka se fine wo benten ana se nipa so asi na ye de but we aso obi anim ne ho ana mpanifo nso Ghana edi so obi nim ne ho se da pena mu saade a ye be sere se dodo no nyina sere ne se omo sisa wo madwene na ye nkoso mo ye tebu ye nkoso si apata na ye nkoso mfa ye one bay ni ye ntena so ni ye nidi what you say form na ana edi edwa because mo na ebi wo painters uko jina sprinters na beni padodo e cost sprinters ya kodi dwa eswa ebi wo ka so ebi wa chimota ye nya mo na edi edwa ya kanta na edi edwa eni agogoro shine mokwala na okansi e form na echi obia
say emre konanim tse bia se system
no emre konanim ya Africans ye nya abrofo eni e wo ba bia emre ni koduru ye dan ya ye ntime mfia ho ntoto abrofo da what you say because so come kwala shopping mall ha e ho nyina di agoroko ukohwe nipa o mu didwa ho na ye show my parents ye hunu ba bi o mu firi be didwa what you say eno no yes o ma mutete sprinters ne la bon ne la shibine cantonment ho for no but ye sade ya na ye ka so abere kuma ye na sini bokoboko mo no ene ya gapem ye ne edidi ha but ye population so do so sino ma mutete cantonment no eti cantonment for mu wo mu dwa mo fa sprinters de no na ye so eti sa pokuase amasama ne wo ye bi mo no ye so ni dia de for so munyi wo money no nsomra no mo meke bibi ma adodo no koma nye den ento wo mo yam because NDC ni MPP no free kuro be suni nyina free Ghana ha e when this ni ade busuani wa odidi o ba no nim no but e obusuani ni e MPP ni so wo ha ne busuani ye den e didi ba wo na wo nye den wo na wo nim no ti esra wo mo ana Ghana nso na titiru ni amenten for ye den e wa ha sei because media ya mo nyina mo na nam so e eskafo na ebie wo mo radio station mu TV station ye nyane yenimu owura no bibi wo no to mu su nyina nam so no mra no mo meka bibi nya de ye fa kire Ghana fo because so su yi wanim na sa to renchem bi say ba eno na wo nso no ebie kwan de mawo emi hunu se no sa radio station manager we ana adwuma wura we wono so odwi nipa ho ti yanso ye wa advert ya ye fa nko sa station ho na mra Kantamanto hye ye no mo be ye de o mo be boa ye akase fo Ghana that fine boni yentimi mu bo mu dini that o mu su ntimi mra no mo mehwa ha because me jidi say Ghana ha na kasifo bi e wo Ghana ha no o mo tibro no papa so no ba akufo betima fa mpatareka obejina maka chen say apatani nyina mo nka kwetimi mebo ama mo na mo obi amfa ni sika nkwafa ni be ni nyina ye nhira ni bia ti asempanifo kakra ye nsu betimi aye dey aka de akere wo mo no na mo ma ha de mo osem de ya pa mo ho ya pa mo ho because enkwa man egu an MP2 ni MP3 mo niku no mo no store de beje mo ti enya de se betimi afa ti esre wo mo nhihye ye bi sa de wo mo to ma dwenem na patana ene no ani yepe because baby Kantamanto adu no akwaya te se wo tete akwala ekwan abefa so ade be kire akwala no enu no odi benyini Kantamanto anyini be 40 years what I say tuntin esesa Kantamanto sa ha yo obi dia wa se ne ete no aha ne de fran ya asase yo obi dia de ba dodo na egu so no enye ba akofo obi dia bete na akwaya dodo nyina dia ye se enyi obi dia akwaya dodo nyina dia enti Ghana for dia sabi ka fra che obi timi tu kwan firi Nigeria ba Ghana abebo bra wa ha sei bere oba no koto asase wo ka so no osi dan a utimi ka je se wuturu so onko Nigeria no na nko ba se ye Ghana for asante for akọ for ankan for igwe for trap bia wa bi didi asei ti se bia da pena ma mo ne de o mo forget na ne ko ba sanso de on asabi ka fracha nikad ene de be demonstration be ye dey e de be tia wo ma ne BBC ene su enu nyina be ba fa
so he concluded with the fact that they won't accept turning this place to a mall, as many of them have been saying, including the Traders Association, their chairman. He re-emphasized on that. They are not accepting malls. If anything that the government wants to support them, they should help them build their own structures. But anything like building shops or turning this place to a mall, they are not going to accept that. Even if it is a demonstration that they have to organize, any form of demonstration, they will do that.
He's trumpet and flute horn, and he's also part of the Afro 4, and they're joining me for a conversation. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thank you.
Victor, I forgot to add that you're also called Sugar. Victor, but Jazz in January sounds like an interesting event where jazz lovers or music lovers can attend, and I'm curious to know how you fit in that. But before we get there, tell me the background for Afro 4. Who is Afro 4? Who are you? How did you come together? What are some of the remarkable things you've been doing so far?
Okay, thank you so much. Afro 4 is a group started by Afro Music Limited. And Afro Music Limited was started by my friend Jeff Kwale and me. So it's a partnership between Jeff Kwale and Bright Gain. And the idea behind it is to create an authentic African jazz super band that takes African cultural music and present them to the global audience in the light of jazz music.
Wow.
You know? So we do both original compositions and we stretch back to our history, the music of our forefathers and those who carried the torch, like your Sibisas, Iti Mensahs, Ghana, Fela Kuti, both those from North Africa will bring this music, cook it with the primary purpose of reaching to the soul and consciousness of every human being and bring joy. So bring love, joy, and the good vibe.
The way you're explaining and gesticulating, Bright, I can't wait to watch you perform. I hope that before we close, you can just give me a little teaser before you go. And so how long have you been doing this? How long has Afro 4 been a band?
Yeah, so as a band, we're about 3 years now.
Okay, 3 years.
We've taught some, we've played in Nigeria, we're in Ghana now, we've played in South Africa, we've played in Germany, everywhere.
Victor, you mentioned that this is your first time playing in Ghana as a band.
Yes.
How has the experience been so far in Ghana?
It's been great.
Yeah.
Quite a beautiful experience, quite hospitable and adventurous.
Okay. And how do you feel about performing to the Ghanaian crowd?
Wow. As a band?
Yes, as a band.
Because I personally have been to Ghana several times.
Yeah,
as a band.
Yeah.
I think is the beginning of a more intentional collaboration with Ghanaian jazz musicians and Ghanaian jazz promoters.
Have you seen a lot of those Ghanaian jazz musicians and promoters? Was it easy for you to enter the market, to enter the country and then, engage some other bands in the country?
Now, something about jazz is that jazz is the music of kings. Music of nobles, music of princes, and the music of the common man. So when you are in it, we find ourselves.
Okay.
It traverses borders.
Yeah, I want to throw that question back to you. Do you find some similarities? And I know you mentioned the Osibisas and the rest. Do you find some similarities between what we produce here in Ghana and have been producing over the years and what you do, either back in Nigeria or everywhere else that you have been?
I think clearly African music is the same. It's the same bloodline. It's the same thing, same beats that holds everything together.
There are no significant style differences.
Yeah, so it's not something like
African jazz.
No, we're not finding similarity. It is what it is. It's Africa. Okay. It's one. And this is not just a political speak. It's actual reality of our culture and tradition as we express it artistically through music.
What should we expect from you when we go to +233 to watch Afro 4 perform today? What should we expect?
You're going to be seeing some energy, some spiritual energy. It will hit you. It will refresh you. It will heal you. And this is for real. Because we are coming as messenger of divinity. We're playing this music to reach the people.
Okay.
Be a blessing to the people.
What time does the show start?
The door opens at 8
The show starts at 9.
Okay. I'll give you each 1 minute to speak directly to our audience, inviting them to come out in their numbers to see you. I'll start with you, Victor.
All right, dear people, my name is Victor Ademofe, and I'm inviting you to +233 tonight. It's going to be a time of refreshing, a time of joy where we share energy, and a time of expression. Come and listen to jazz at its finest. So you don't want to be at home.
Okay.
It promises to bring a revival and time of refreshing.
Right. What would you add to that?
Okay, Ghanaians, thank you for having us. So I want to speak to Ghanaians. First of all, thank you for your great hospitality. We've been very blessed since we came in. And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Indran Odoi, who was the organizer of +233. So I want to invite all of you Ghanaians to come. Let us celebrate the new year together. Let's celebrate love. Let's celebrate joy and the good vibe. I'm really looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much. That there is Bright Gain, the band leader for Afro 4. And we also have in the studio Victor. And Victor, he said, what exactly do you do in the band? Just before we go.
I mean, many times...
You play the flute?
Many times I'm asked this question, for lack of proper expression. You can say I play the trumpet, the flugelhorn, the percussion. But I say I play the body.
You play the body?
Yeah.
Okay, and Bright, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm the bass player.
You're the bass player, okay.
Yeah.
I would love to come and watch you guys.
Oh yeah, please, you're highly invited. I'm inviting everyone.
And I wish you the very best.
Yeah, will you be there tonight?
I'll tell you after the show.
Be our
Folks,
guest.
that's our show. But before we go, I do want to get into some messages that came in. We asked you this morning to rate the outgoing administration. We said on a scale of 1 to 10, how will you rate President Akufo-Addo's tenure? And we have over 350 messages coming in. I just want to pick a few of them because I asked you to send through these messages. Someone said 7 over 10. A lot has been accomplished, but much remains. Although he made mistakes, the management of the economy and response to corruption allegation during his tenure could have been handled better. And this is coming for Abdul Aziz Bakari. And Abdul Salam Alhaji Mahan also says, I will give Akufo-Addo and his government 2, just for the efforts he and his government have put in to make Ghana better and failed. But on the other hand, they deserve 0. He and his government will be remembered in history in the history of this country, I believe you meant to say, as the worst government ever in Ghana. If the unconstitutional governments, especially the Champon government, is by far better than this Akufo-Addo administration under the Fourth Republic, then we have a lot. We have to pray for Allah to help us. Wow. These are just some comments coming in. And so let me add one more before I go. As if one were thrown into prison for 8 years. That's how it felt. That's how it felt like with the Akufo-Addo administration. And as far as the issue of Boko is concerned, I will rate them 0. And that's Abdullahi Yahya. Folks, thank you so much for staying with us this entire week, for staying with me this entire week. I'm Sweetie Aboshi. Thank you so much for watching. Next week, Ben and I are back on your screens from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. It's the AM show, the best breakfast show on the block. But you want to stay because News Desk comes up shortly. And that's how we're wrapping up for the entire week. See you again Monday. Bye for now.